states and cities and counties and such governments of the vaccine passport.
Ooh, there's a band name, Proliferator.
Speaking of government oppression, have you guys heard about Let's Go, Brandon?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the
I adore that
sanitized
meme.
version of F. Joe Biden.
I adore that I can
missed.
say on an FCC-regulated station, let's go, Brandon.
You obviously missed Sunday's program where all three of us in unison repeatedly.
That is fantastic. I love this. Like, let's see how weird this gets. We now have like a version of F the government, basically, that you can say in church.
Yeah, but it's not really
like
F the government. It's
it absolutely is.
No, it's not. It's targeting one political person.
Yeah,
those people would not be saying F Trump. The same people saying F Joe Biden, most of them would not say F Trump.
Why?
Because they're partisans.
No. That's not why they elected Trump at all. They elected Trump because he was the biggest middle finger in the room. So he already was F the establishment.
No, I don't buy it.
There is not a person there.
I've seen these Trump people.
Have you seen Joe Biden? There's not a person there.
I get what you're saying.
He is literally the puppetest puppet that ever puppeted the puppet regime.
I don't disagree with you, but I've been around enough of these Trump people to know that they are just a bunch, most of them are just a bunch of Republicans. You know, they support Republicans in office. They believe Republicans in office is going to make the government smaller. They ignore the fact that George Bush made the government bigger. They ignore the fact that Trump made the government bigger.
Most of them are thin blue liners.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Well,
I think some of them there's hope for them.
I figure this. One of two things is going to happen. Their next candidate is either going to be a Republican Joe Biden, or he's going to be another Trump, another anti-establishment figure.
I don't see any reason to believe that.
That either of those will happen.
I don't see any reason to believe that. Mike Pence, who is just a typical Republican, he's not as old and, is not with it as Joe Biden. He's just this boring bastard. He looks boring, and he's going to run. That doesn't mean he's going to win, but they've already talked about might be throwing his hat into the ring.
Well, if he's running against Kamala, he might just win.
He might, but he would still have to get through the Republican primary first, and there may be a better candidate. I mean, none of these candidates are good, though. Trump, I do agree with you. There were some people that chose Trump because he seemed like an outsider. That was what... Yeah, there were some people some people chose him because he was the Republican.
Well, yeah, fair, but as far as like why him in particular, okay, so like in the Republican primaries, not in the election.
Yeah,
like yes, there's absolutely a huge faction of the country that chose him in the actual election because he had an R next to his name.
Correct.
However, in the primaries, he got chosen for one reason: he was the biggest middle finger in the room.
He looked like an outsider, but he really wasn't. It was all fake.
I completely agree. However, he at least branded himself as this F the establishment figure.
He did, and then he proved that it was all false.
Well, sure,
I mean,
absolutely.
I see it as a rerun, if you will, a recasting, a reboot of the Ross Perot campaign, except he won. Right, so like I'm old enough to remember.
Which is a huge difference.
I'm old enough to remember the Ross Perot campaign, and a whole bunch of people were for him for the same reason because they were like, let's not elect a politician, let's elect a businessman because the business of running the country has been neglected and blah blah blah. All
which
the usual
of course is
complaints.
predicated on the false belief that if you just elect a businessman, that all of a sudden government will become efficient and it'll work well, which is also total BS.
Correct, and
but that's what people believe.
And we saw that with Trump.
So not to nitpick here, but he did actually oversee he did actually make an economic recovery. Like lowest unemployment, especially among blacks.
Are you excluding the year 2020?
You mean the government shutdown of everything?
Yeah, are you excluding that from calling it an economic?
Didn't do.
Yes, he did.
He didn't do any of that.
He was in office for the majority of 2020.
Are you suggesting that he told
actually all
the
of
states
2020
not to do that? Because as I recall it, he didn't tell them what to do at all.
He put a mask on and did what he was told.
Yeah, he was.
You don't think that he was told to do a national shutdown?
I don't know who's telling who to do what, but he didn't, he did. He went along with whatever the hell that plan was. With the whole COVID thing, he went along with the plan.
I think he could have been much more authoritarian than he was.
Did the debt grow? It did. Did he drop bombs on innocent brown people? Yep.
Did he put immigrants in prison cells? Yes, he did. Did Joe Biden undo it?
Which is why I'm not arguing that he was an actual anti-establishment anything. only that he marketed himself that way.
Wow, a politician lied to people? I'm shocked.
Go figure.
No, that's not the important part of this story. The important part of this story is that people want an anti-establishment candidate.
Mm-hmm. And they probably are never going to get one again, with the exception of Trump.
I beg to differ, because they keep electing, establishment candidates.
Right, and why didn't they elect Ron Paul in the primary if they wanted somebody anti-establishment?
Well, because he had an absolute 100% media blackout as compared to Trump, who had the most media coverage of anyone ever.
Strong argument. Yeah, the media hated him, so they covered him a lot. That's true.
Look, engaging, no. The whole premise of putting a leader in control of this institution of violence called government based on a frickin' popularity contest is the most preposterous thing I have ever heard in my life. And I know that it's common knowledge that this is how it works. All it is, it's like, I mean, my God, you want a voting system that works? Call the folks from American Idol. They put one together that works great, and it's all done and over in an hour.
So I don't disagree with you, Peakless Mountaineer, that Trump could have been worse as far as cracking down on COVID and all that. But by no means was he some sort of voice of freedom, voice of liberty, or anything. He put a mask
to a lot
on.
Of people he was.
And I understand what they believed about him, but they weren't paying attention.
Right. And now let me separate what I'm saying from what I'm not saying. Here's what I'm not saying. I am not saying that politics is a possible avenue for real change. It isn't. What I am saying is that it's a pretty decent way to test the temperature in people's opinions and perspectives. And that their opinions and perspectives are fed up with the establishment more and more every day.
Well, that's true. I mean, you can see that without having to have an election. You can see they do polls. You know, there's polls about Americans and their trust in government and their trust in the presidential branch and their trust in the judicial branch and their trust in the military. And, you know, I think the Congress gets the worst.
Trustworthy.
I think the Congress gets the worst ratings, and I think it might be the presidency after
relying
that.
on the political establishment for anything. I don't care what it is. If it's a measure of how many people pick their nose or whatever, is a horrible idea. You shouldn't rely on the establishment for anything other than more getting screwed.
But honestly, Joe Biden isn't really that much different from Donald Trump. In fact, Biden has continued most of Trump's worst policies. And I'm sure a lot of people on the left...
The policy is definitely very, very similar.
Yeah,
are the kids still in cages, by the way?
Yes, that's right.
Oh, the kids are still in cages.
And I just saw another. I don't have it in front of me. I didn't mark it for show prep, but I just saw another story about how Biden promised to get rid of a specific Trump program, and now he's re-enabling or continuing that Trump program. He's done that with the immigration as well.
And since you mentioned the kids in cages, the immigration, I guarantee you that there will be more immigration restriction under Biden than there ever was under Trump.
Absolutely,
because during his reign, on an individual level, the people who were trusted with enforcing this went, I don't feel like it, and they just didn't enforce all of the immigration restrictions that he had wanted them to, because they're like, I don't like this guy, so I'm not going to enforce it, which is actually the blueprint for how we get out of this nightmare. If we, in the decentralized reality,
not to do their jobs?
No, precisely the opposite. If the actual decentralized enforcement of this stops, then it's over.
Decentralized enforcement?
Yeah, like they have to have, states, counties, cities actually enforcing these
things.
Mean
like sanctuary cities and things like that?
No, sort of. Yes, if you stop enforcing these things, then they just don't happen.
Obviously. And that's, the best solution there is, of course, to leave the union. And I know, Captain, you want to talk about Flexit.
There's another state.
In a bit, we can do that. Plus, I didn't actually intend to talk about Trump, but I wanted to talk about Lithuania and the insane segregation that is happening there. We'll talk about it on the way. It's Free Talk Live.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Breaking weather news. Belize is sunny and around 82 degrees every day this week.
What's the forecast for your life? If current politics and economic prospects are cramping your freedom, escape to the tropics. ECI Development has affordable second homes for you to own or rent in Belize and other tropical countries. Places with stable governments and growing economies. Secure your freedom now. To find out more, send an email to ftl@ecidevelopment.com.
When a lunar observatory detects a radio broadcast originating from Proxima Centauri, the nations of Earth discover their first contact with an alien race may also be their last. With the Proximans facing an extinction-level disaster, Earth must choose between sending a ship on a multi-year journey or allowing nature to take its course. Saving Proxima, a hard science fiction thriller by Travis S. Taylor and Les Johnson from BaneBooks.com.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. Of course, you can bring up whatever is on your mind. The number here is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And Free Talk Live is brought to you by Intercoin. It can help any business and organization launch their own currency or raise money using their own token. And now Intercoin.org has launched worldwide. If there's a token you want to launch or an app that you want to build, go to intercoin.org, enter your email, and the team will get in touch and learn about your needs. While you're there, if you want, you can get some of the Intercoin investor tokens for yourself. So head over to intercoin.org. So we got sidetracked into a conversation about politicians in general, and that's fine. It doesn't matter which direction the show goes.
We went off on a tangent?
But I don't want to miss this particular story because it is so egregious. It is an example of what might be the worst segregated society due to COVID, due to these vaccine passports on the planet. So to give you an idea for what they have in store for you, where you live, they're already starting this in New York City, San Francisco, where In-N-Out Burger was just forced to close earlier this week because they refused to enforce the vaccination passport, which also, by the way, requires an ID, because that's the part they don't really tell you about when the news media says, oh, there's a vaccination passport now required. You also have to show ID because the vaccine passport doesn't have a photo on it, so they need to prove that it's actually your vaccine passport and you didn't borrow, your boss's passport or your dad's or whatever. So now people are having to have their ID checked simply to go to the gym or to go to a restaurant or In-N-Out Burger.
Papers, please.
Yeah. And that's how it actually is in the United States. Yeah. I believe you reported on one of your shows on Free Talk Live, Captain, that King County, Washington has also implemented this. So I believe that is the first full county to do it, because it was L.A., it was San Francisco, New York City, and I think New Orleans, and then King County came in. I don't think we've seen a state government do this yet.
Oh, it's coming.
But it's only a matter of time.
Look, everybody, like I made the joke, papers, please, right? Everybody understands what that means, and that is we'll call it a symbol of Nazism, right? That when you reach the stage... That when you reach the stage where government is asking you for your papers, you have achieved...
They're not just asking.
You have achieved the same thing that the Nazis achieved, which is, a horrible form of totalitarianism.
Yeah, where everyday life is restricted by your ability to prove your identity and your credentials.
And that you're in the in crowd. You're in the unrestricted group, so-called.
You are compliant.
Yeah. And of course, they act as though the group with the pass is unrestricted, but you are restricted. You had to get their permission slip. You're constantly having to show it. You're under heavy restriction. It's just you're allowed to go in to do more than the people that don't jump through the hoops.
And that's the thing. So, there are so many people that don't say this or don't say that on Facebook because they don't want to be kicked off.
Right.
Okay, well, this is that, but with life.
Yes.
So now that they've restricted this part of life from you, you're going to be very careful to obey absolutely everything and snitch out everyone around you, because you don't want to get this revoked. You don't want to have your ability to feed yourself, to clothe yourself, to be removed from you.
Now, there's a list in each of these cities of things that you can do if you don't have the vaccination passport and things that you can't do. And want to talk to you about a thread that was posted at Gluboco, Gluboco, on Twitter. It's one of those lengthy things where they post like 20 different posts, because Twitter, you only get like 200 and change characters. And so I'm just going to read this post because it's shocking. There's a lot of photographs that go along with it. I'll try to describe them as well. He says, in just 6 weeks, the COVID pass has transformed my country, which, by the way, is a former Soviet state, into a regime of control and segregation.
What country is it?
Lithuania.
Lithuania. Okay, thank you.
This is the new society created in Lithuania, the nation furthest along the path to the authoritarianism inevitably facing all countries which impose a COVID pass regime. The COVID pass in Lithuania is called the Opportunity Pass. Remember in New York City, they called it like the key to NYC? The Opportunity Pass allows you the opportunity to participate in society. Without the Opportunity Pass, you don't have opportunity. Your rights are restricted. My wife and I don't have the COVID pass. We refuse to accept the authoritarianism and control of the new regime. So we've lost our jobs and been banished from most of society.
We're going to offer you the opportunity to continue breathing.
It's been 6 weeks so far. There's currently no end date planned for the new regime. With no pass, we may only enter small shops with street entrances, which mainly sell essential goods, food, pharma, optics, or farm or pet goods. This convenience store meets the requirements, so we may enter. And he shows a photograph of the signage on the door. Now, it's in Lithuanian or whatever that their language is, and he translates it into English. Immunization documents will not be inspected, is what this sign says. Don't get used to that, because all the other signs he shows you are restrictions. In every other store, they must, by law, ban people without the pass. In Lithuania, the pass is called Galimybė pasas, abbreviated as GP. GP signs are now ubiquitous at stores and public buildings to signal compliance with the policy of banishment. And he gives an example. All shopping centers ban people without the COVID pass. Machines have been installed to scan and verify the pass of each person who enters. No pass, no entrance. And then he gives an example of one of these entrances with a machine at the front and, of course, a guard. There's a man standing there as well. He says, "This is a clothing store. By law, it must ban my wife and me because we don't have the COVID pass. Clothing is not considered essential."
Wow. And I gotta say, this is the most depressing to me from a country that
should have known better.
Just did this.
Yeah. So they've fallen right back into.
Did you forget?
Yeah, they fell right back into the old habits.
Nostalgic.
And then another photograph. Why is an ID needed to shop in addition to a pass? To verify the pass is yours. Right. The sign on this window says, "Only customers with an opportunity pass will be served. You may also be asked to provide proof of identity." So a construction worker wanted food for his morning shift. Without his own pass, he used his boss's QR code to enter a supermarket. Police fined the man €5,000 and issued a press release. This is a sporting goods store, and he shows an image of guards stopping people. The guard is using a phone app to verify the customer's pass. Without a pass, my wife and I may not enter this store. He then gives another example of what might be a supermarket or something. Customers are admitted to the shop only on presentation of a valid opportunity pass. This is the sign on the window. Thank you for your understanding. We are concerned about the safety of you and our staff. All supermarkets, he says, over 1,500 meters squared as far as their floor space, guards scan each customer's pass. Now remember, was it 3 feet per meter?
Yes.
So that's only 4,500 square feet. That's a very, very small establishment. So basically any place that sells food, you have to have a pass. He says, my wife and I may not shop in these supermarkets. No pass, no entrance. And then more photographs of guards and customers being scanned, standing, masks, waiting. He goes on. This is he gives more examples of how restrictive this is. I mean, wait till he gets to the library.
We and many other freedom-oriented people predicted this would happen at the onset of the lockdowns.
Yeah, and it's happening, and it's really bad.
It's horrible.
And this is coming
soon
somewhere.
To an authoritarian regime near you.
Free Talk Live's video archives have been on Library for years. Library is an uncensorable, decentralized, blockchain-based media sharing protocol, and we're big fans of it here on Free Talk Live. In 2020, Library launched Odyssey, a video sharing website to compete with YouTube, and it's really taking off. Now with over 1 million channels, many of whom are disaffected YouTube creators. During YouTube's crackdown for not towing the government line on COVID, the Free Talk Live YouTube channel started receiving strikes and could be completely taken down at any moment. Thankfully, Odyssey started offering live streaming, so we're now streaming live every night and posting our video archives permanently to Odyssey. You can watch live or anytime on our Odyssey channel by visiting video.freetalklive.com. If you want to go all in, download the desktop app at lbry.com, and then every video archive you watch, you'll help seed and keep it online forever. At minimum, we ask you visit video.freetalklive.com and follow us on Odyssey today. video.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper with the Week in Review. This past week, North Korea fired a new submarine-launched ballistic missile. The UN Security Council held an emergency meeting amid international condemnation at the latest test. FSN's Nina Maria Potts has more.
The official Korean Central News Agency claims this was a new type of submarine-launched ballistic missile and that it had lots of advanced control guidance technologies. It didn't mention leader Kim Jong-un, signaling he was not present for the launch. North Korea's missile test comes as both North and South Korea build up their weapons capabilities in what experts are warning is an arms race on the peninsula. Dialogue between Washington and Pyongyang over the country's nuclear proliferation ambitions has been at a standstill since 2019.
In an apparent accident on a film set in the US state of New Mexico, the actor Alec Baldwin fatally shot the film's director of photography and injured the director. The incident happened on the set of the western Rust, as FSN's Tony Waterman reports from the neighbouring state of Texas.
The prop gun was fired during a scene in the movie, leaving 42-year-old cinematographer Helena Hutchins dead. The Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office said both were shot when a prop gun was discharged by Alec Baldwin. The American actor was questioned, but no charges have been filed. Detectives say they are now investigating how and what type of projectile was discharged. Hutchins was described as a brilliant talent by director Adam Egypt Mortimer, who worked with her on the 2020 movie Arch Enemy. And in 2019, she was named a rising star by American Cinematographer magazine. Tony Waterman, Austin, Texas.
This last week, India notched up a milestone of administering 1 billion doses of the coronavirus vaccine. It's only the second country to reach the milestone after China. The country marked the day with celebrations, but experts warned about falling vaccination rates, as FSN's Ishan Garg reports from New Delhi.
Daily vaccination numbers have fallen in October, with the country administering close to 6 million shots a day, down from 10 million a month ago. Officials deny that there's any vaccine hesitancy, but are also urging more people to get both their shots. Both vaccines being used for mass inoculation in India, the Oxford AstraZeneca shot and the locally made Covaxin, are 2-dose vaccines. And experts worry that misinformation and complacency is causing many to skip their second dose. So far, roughly a third of the country's population is fully vaccinated and a quarter haven't received a shot at all. Experts say while single shot coverage is encouraging, it may not be enough to protect the country from a damaging third wave. Ishan Garg, New Delhi.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
This is Free Talk Live. The number here is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. With you in the studio here tonight, we've got Ian.
Biggest not here.
And the Reverend Captain Kickass is here.
Of course, you can bring up anything that you want. Somebody in the chat room is complaining, saying we will not talk about the Alec Baldwin story.
You are worthless, Alec Baldwin. You are worthless, Alec Baldwin.
This guy is always complaining about things we won't talk about. But
Are
yet
you
he never
suggesting that someone in Hollywood believes that they're above the rules that the rest of us live by?
Yet he never
Perish the
picks.
thought.
He never picks up the phone to actually call in and talk about it.
At the end,
open phones.
At the end of the movie Team America, during the credits, there is a song that I just was sort of singing, and the chorus is "You are worthless, Alec Baldwin," right? But it's sung by the little alien roach critter that got away, right? And it talks about how worthless Alec Baldwin is as an actor, and it's basically just a rip on Alec Baldwin. And so that song has been stuck in my head. I've been having a lot of fun with the Alec Baldwin thing, like the memes.
The memes are great.
Oh my gosh, just take the shot. Right, and it's a picture of Alec Baldwin with the CDC backdrop, this Free Talk Live backdrop. It's got but it's got the CDC logo on it.
Yeah, for listeners that don't know, in case you haven't heard, he shot somebody apparently on a movie set.
Yeah, with a gun that was supposedly loaded with blanks.
But anyway, it's open phones here on Free Talk Live, so anybody who's complaining about us not talking about a thing, then they're just not doing their part and calling in and talking about it.
603-283-6160.
Yeah, the phones are open. We will take your calls about absolutely anything. No one is screened out as far as topics are concerned here on this program. But we all bring to the table the things we think are interesting. And to me, segregation of people based on a medical, mandate is very, very scary and way more important than, some Hollywood guy and what he's doing.
Yeah, definitely. You don't have to go very far back in history to learn how wrong this is, right? If you look at
apparently people didn't learn, though.
If you look at kings and peasants, right? It's a two-class system, right?
Sure.
You've got the
Jim Crow.
You've got the privileged and the not privileged.
Yeah.
And this is class division.
And the Russians had that too, by the way. Lithuania being a former Soviet Union state, they had the privileged class, the people who were in the party, and then the rest of the people, right? So now Lithuania is back at it with what, according to a man that lives there who is not vaccinated, is telling us about here. He's got a lengthy thread that he posted to his Twitter account, which is @Gluboko, Gluboco, Gluboko Lietuva. He is just explaining this new GP, the pass that they call the Opportunity Pass, or the Galimbiabu Passas, abbreviated as GP. Basically, people who are unvaccinated can only go into the tiniest little local stores with only essential so-called items, and that,
not including clothing.
And that doesn't include clothing. So going on here, he's just kind of going through a laundry list of different places, showing photographs of guards at entrances to stores, entrances to supermarkets, automated machinery, scanning machinery that you have to not only scan, but then scan a license to make sure that you're the same person, etc. Right. He says the law bans people without the pass from all non-essential services and economic activities. This is a religious supply store. It is not considered essential. So by law, the owner must ban me and my wife.
Wait, I've never seen a religious supply store before. So if you run out of religion, you can go there and get a new one?
Yeah, Bibles and, things like that.
Oh, Bibles, prayer mats, candles.
Right. The little wafers?
He said probably. He says we're banned from bookstores. Those are pieces of Jesus. You need to take those seriously.
I'd prefer the wine, but
only people with a COVID pass may enter bookstores. Because we don't have a pass, my wife and I cannot take our 2 children here. And then he gives the example, the sign on the door of the bookstore. Before selecting books and other items, please present your opportunity pass and ID to a member of staff. Prepare your documents. Wait for a member of staff to come and inspect your documents. Choose the books and other goods you want.
Yeah, the part about this that really sticks out to me is the enforcement aspect. Because, sure, there were a bunch of places around here that are like, yeah, you have to wear a mask to shop here. But, no one's standing there.
They don't even really say that. They say most of the places, even the corporate places now, at least in New Hampshire that I've seen, say we recommend.
Mm-hmm.
They don't say you have to.
Right, but even the places that were saying that these are required, it was very rare that they would even put an employee
That's correct.
on there.
Yeah.
But the idea of putting a guard, like an actual guard there to enforce this mandate.
That's
probably because they're punished if they don't.
A hardware-ish place here in town that says, please wear a mask inside of our facility, but it doesn't say you're required.
And most people I'm seeing these days aren't wearing masks, it seems like, with the exception of older females. It seems that females in general seem to be more likely than males to wear masks, and the older they are, the more likely they seem to be to wear
and
masks.
I think a lot of this has to do with your inclination to be agreeable. Like, if you will go along to get along, then you are more likely to do these things without a fight.
Right.
And it seems to me that Lithuania has a culture that is largely, at least at this point, very high in agreeableness. I know that the second occupation of the Soviets was fought with guerrilla warfare, but it looks like they have lost the fight in them.
At this point, I think if you're still wearing a mask when you're going out in public, you're just ugly.
You mean not having a face might make you an ugly person?
And I mean that in several different ways. Like, you might just have a butterface, or you're ugly on the inside for not realizing what the heck is going on.
No doubt. He says, my family enjoys crafts, but without a pass, we can no longer enter knitting stores to buy yarn or other supplies. Without a COVID pass, we can't take our children to art supply stores. We're also not allowed to even pick up online orders. So if you want to order, you can't go wait outside. Apparently, a lot of these stores, they won't even serve you at all. You can only have them ship them to your home.
Even during the lockdown, you could go online and order stuff from some stores, curbside style, and pull up and open the hatch or whatever, the trunk. And they would load your order in for you and say, thanks, have a nice day.
And he's got photos of all these storefronts and all the signages, what they say, translated on here. We're not allowed to receive any beauty services, hair, nails, skincare. This is a barber. No pass, no entrance. Without a pass, we may not receive repair services, which last longer than 15 minutes. This is an online ad for a shop which repairs iPhone screens. Quote, don't have a pass? We can register you by phone, and then we'll collect your device outside the entrance. Second-hand stores are not exempt. No one may buy or sell without the pass. This is Humana, an international group which collects and sells second-hand clothing. No pass, no entrance.
It occurs to me that a parallel to be drawn here is the vaccine is Soma, Brave New World.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that was a drug that was issued to everybody.
Everybody had to take, and it made you docile and compliant.
That's an interesting observation. And they're not going to stop with the boosters. So, yeah, you're going to keep getting dosed.
And
I think
also,
some was like every week or every day, though, right?
Yeah, it was at least daily, and they would like give you extra if, I don't know if there was somebody.
But they got to start less than daily, right? Like you can't just jump into every single day we're going to give you a drug. You got to do it a little less often to get people used to it.
The other thing that I think is going to happen is...
That's not how our pharmaceutical companies work.
No, but we're talking about the mandates, right? Like if you're going to mandate people take a drug, you got to do it a little less often than every single day. You can't jump into the deep end of the pool. People got to get used to showing up on a regular schedule to get something dosed into them. So
well, I mean,
once every 6 months.
First we mandate that you take one of these. Mm-hmm. Then we mandate that you take 2 of these. Then 3.
That's right.
Then one every 6 months.
Well, the other thing that I think is going to happen...
Then one every 3 months. Then every month.
That's what I'm saying.
Then every week.
Yeah. The other thing that I think is going to happen is you're going to have to pay to, much like you pay to renew your driver's license or your, your tags on your car, your license plates, that kind of thing. You're going to have to renew your vaccination passport at a fee that you have to pay.
Right, because you have to prove you got the new booster shot.
Right.
Well, did you know that if you just get the implant, then you don't need to go to get your daily booster renewal?
Is there an implant?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Just wait.
All right, there's more coming up here. If you want to join us, 603-283-6160. The solution, of course, to this is mass noncompliance.
Yes.
But the thing is, you got to do it sooner rather than later. Lithuania, it's already gone too far. They've already locked everything down. So you need to start standing up now.
And if it's gone too far there, it's going to go too far here. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, this is the bellwether. This is the canary in the coal mine. So beware. And there's more coming up here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 27th through July 3rd for the 6th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which sold out for the first time in 2021. Fork Fest takes place the week after Porkfest, but Fork Fest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 27th through July 3rd. There's no better place to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire. You can find out more at the unofficial website, forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the Forkfest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the Forkfest forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there. Forkfest.party. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what the readers of freedomsphoenix.com get every day. freedomsphoenix.com, constantly providing the information, the real news about government policies, and the real relationship we all have with the coercive government. The real condition of the economy, innovations in technology, breakthroughs in energy, health, and computer science. Learn the truth well before it's admitted to in the lamestream media. The corporate media, nothing more than distributors of government propaganda, but now there's an alternative. freedomsphoenix.com. Constant news updates on the issues that affect your life in the most important ways. With liberty and property under constant attack, freedomsphoenix.com provides the understanding behind the propaganda, and it encourages the participation of its readers. Go to freedomsphoenix.com. That's freedoms with an S, phoenix.com. freedomsphoenix.com. The revolution between the ears has already happened.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, and you can bring up anything here. The live Saturday show.
Anything?
Pretty much. Within FCC restrictions, which, as long as you're very careful, you can bring up more adult topics. You just have to be cautious on how you discuss them. 603-283-6160 is the number here. That's 603-283-6160. Also, want to make sure you know about Freedom's Phoenix. That's Freedom's with an S, Phoenix.com. It is a place to go to get the latest and freshest stories and perspectives on current events from those who value liberty. They've got it there over at freedomsphoenix.com. Their daily dispatch is an easy way to stay up to date on science, technology, historical findings, liberty news, government overspending, and the rise of the police state. It's freedoms with an S, Phoenix.com. That's freedomsphoenix.com. We've been talking about a very informative and very depressing set of posts on a Twitter thread by a gentleman in Lithuania. And I'll give you his username again, at Gluboco, Gluboco. He took a lot of time to do this. He took a lot of photographs of the fronts of stores in wherever it is in Lithuania in which he and his wife live. They are not allowed to go into the supermajority of businesses, and that's because they don't have the vaccination pass.
Right.
They're not vaccinated.
Now,
we've seen these passes being implemented in the United States. We've seen European Union countries implementing them. And, of course, Lithuania is, I believe, part of the EU now, but they used to be a Soviet state. And so they know how to do this kind of crackdown stuff, and they're doing it big time. It's pretty scary stuff. I'm going to go to your phone calls and thoughts, but just share a couple things more from this story. He says, without a pass, we may not visit patients in medical facilities or senior care / residential homes. The only exception is for terminally ill patients, pregnant women, or children under 14, only if the doctor gives advance permission. And then we'll tell you more about it coming up here in a moment.
I just want to say thank you very much, Mr. Gluboco,
for putting this post together. Yeah, it's shocking. Let's go to your calls, though, and thoughts. We got Thomas. He's on the line in New Hampshire. Thomas, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yes, sir. It's a privilege to be here, and I'm glad that you're talking about Lithuania. Something relevant to what you're talking about. I am, as I told Ian, and he knows, is I'm a quarter Lithuanian, and one of the things about all the stuff they've been through since before is that they have had an extreme repression. From whenever the Russians came in there, my grandmother and my great-grandmother were in the Soviet concentration camps, the gulags, for years. So I'm glad you guys are talking about this.
Thank you. Appreciate it. What did you want to share?
Now, I did want to hijack, and I've been talking to you about it, is that at the present moment, I'm working on a very big thing here in Troy, New Hampshire, which is very close to where both Ian and I live, to the studio, is that there's what I'm referring to as a corrupt police chief. And at the present moment, this police chief won't give up some body cam videos that I have, or I'm trying to request. And it's one of those things that's a freedom of information, and something, Ian, that you've worked on a lot. But the long and the short of it, this man had a woman arrested, a disabled blind woman arrested twice in 2 days bogus restraining orders. And so what I'm trying to do, and hopefully this evening I'm going to see you, is I'm trying to bring awareness to this. And you both, all three of you, are very passionate about police being fair and accountable, which is the reason why I trust this radio show and like your viewers trust it.
So you're the guy behind the Jail Paper, which is the website still up over at thejailpaper.com?
Well, I'm going to tell you now, Ian, I've been cyber attacked by not only a whole bunch of followers of David Ellis, but his wife, his wife.
That's the police chief. The name of
the police chief's wife. Her name is on there, but her name is Lynn Cullen Ellis. And now what I did earlier this week, guys, is I took the long way around the barn, but the successful way is I sent a letter, an email with David Ellis attached to it, requesting his body cam. It was about a 2,000-word letter.
Just to clarify, before you go on, are you saying he himself arrested this blind,
Yes.
This blind woman?
Yes.
Okay.
And now if you go on this, on my website, in the Jail Paper, which you've been on, but for good reason, you've been on interviews before with me, is that this woman was basically falsely accused of violating 2 restraining orders back to back, and she was arrested within 36 hours, back to back, for false bogus charges that eventually were dropped by a local judge by the name of David Forrest. But the body cam videos I just put up on YouTube, Ian, because I have been flagged by at least 150 people that are in support of this police chief.
So they took your YouTube down or took something else down? What happened?
Like they took the Facebook off. You know how it is with Facebook. And what I've done is I'm trying to be like you, where I expand something beyond Facebook.
Right.
So they've silenced my voice on Facebook, but not before I got 50,000 people in 3 days. So what we've been doing at the Jail Papers, we've been having confrontations with pedophiles. We've been having going and visiting them at their houses. We've been confronting the different types of corrupt police by going and seeing them in person. And you're an inspiration to me, Ian, because you're a person that, like myself, that has the audacity to stick up for what's right. We've been making a wholehearted effort for the last week to get these body cams, and now we've gotten Governor Sununu of the state of New Hampshire involved. We've got the Attorney General of the state of New Hampshire involved. We got the police misconduct and about 50 different news outlets that don't know what to do yet. But I'll tell you guys really briefly, the way that this gentleman, or I won't call him a gentleman, the way that this individual talks to a 60-year-old blind woman who's on disability is the most unbecoming thing you've ever heard.
Now, how do you know? Did she get her own footage of this encounter, or how do you know how
he was there? She was there, so it's her word.
Her testimony. I see. Okay.
But he has a body cam that he won't give up, and he's been playing games with her. This lady has sent him at least 100 emails, and he's been playing games for months.
So now in New Hampshire, for listeners that aren't familiar, in most states there's the Freedom of Information Act. There's a different name for it probably in every state. So here in New Hampshire, it's named after the RSA, the statute number 91A. Have you filled out, or has she filled out a request for that body cam footage officially, or has it just been an email saying, hey, give me that thing?
I'm glad that you said that. They never told her until I actually spoke with a lady named Mary Guild, who told me, and she was laughing about it. This lady was literally never told, and like I said, she's disabled. She's not as quick on the uptake as everybody else for knowing these legal definitions.
Right.
But we finally got that thing. So one of the reasons I'm reaching out to this excellent program is because you guys specialize in being interested in these type of things.
Right. Yeah. So that's one of the most important things you can do is to file for that. File that 91A request. There are forms that there's not an official form for it, but there are forms that interest groups have made up to do this, to make it easier for people to do this. I think there's one over on the Shire Society forums that I saved there years ago at forum.shiresociety.com. If you just search for 91-A, it'll come up with that. And then, of course, they've got all kinds of stupid, rules that'll say, oh, well, they can, delay 30 days, and then if they need more time, they can get more time, and so it's still going to be a drawn-out process. I remember I asked the city of Keene in late November of last year to give me the arrest records for marijuana arrests, both prior to and after decriminalization of possession of marijuana, because I wanted to compare, like, what was it like before decrim, what was it like after, and it literally took them, I don't know, 3 or 4 months to finally get me that information. Not a huge records request or anything like that, but they dragged their feet as long as they possibly could. The other thing I would suggest here, and I'm not a lawyer, so I can't give legal advice, but
of course.
But the suggestion I would make is if she's facing criminal charges over this, right? She allegedly violated a restraining order, so she's facing charges.
And I'm going to show you in person, but I have at least, I don't have them on the website until probably tomorrow because I'm sitting next to the scanner in a box I just bought. But I have both of the criminal charges that were brought against her were dismissed. The restraining order was dismissed, and I have a video. It's labeled false statements. And if you watch this woman give these just absurd accusations, they have a fake Facebook account. It's long and convoluted.
Just to clarify, the woman is the person who took the restraining orders out against the blind lady?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am. Sorry.
That's
yes,
okay.
Sir. And what it is, Ian, is that it's a very drawn-out case, but it all stems from that this police chief had what we presume to be some type of special relationship with not only the person that petitioned it, but what we have is like the crazy neighbor. They were both neighbors of this woman. And then they went out and just victimized this woman. And they've been continuing to do it.
Small town drama is what it sounds like, and a corrupt police chief. Definitely keep us in the loop as to how this develops. You're saying they've dropped the charges against this lady now?
Yes.
Okay, like that's definitely part of the cover-up then, because they don't want this to go to trial, because then she would definitely have access to the video easily, since it would be presumably part of the discovery in the case. Thanks, Thomas, for the call. Keep in touch on this, and look forward to seeing you and the details on that as it develops. More coming up. Hour 2 is next. Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better, too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper with the Week in Review. This past week, North Korea fired a new submarine-launched ballistic missile. The UN Security Council held an emergency meeting amid international condemnation at the latest test. FSN's Nina Maria Potts has more.
The official Korean Central News Agency claims this was a new type of submarine-launched ballistic missile and that it had lots of advanced control guidance technologies. It didn't mention leader Kim Jong-un, signaling he was not present for the launch. North Korea's missile test comes as both North and South Korea build up their weapons capabilities in what experts are warning is an arms race on the peninsula. Dialogue between Washington and Pyongyang over the country's nuclear proliferation ambitions has been at a standstill since 2019.
In an apparent accident on a film set in the US state of New Mexico, the actor Alec Baldwin fatally shot the film's director of photography and injured the director. The incident happened on the set of the western Rust, as FSN's Tony Waterman reports from the neighbouring state of Texas.
The prop gun was fired during a scene in the movie, leaving 42-year-old cinematographer Helena Hutchins dead. The Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office said both were shot when a prop gun was discharged by Alec Baldwin. The American actor was questioned, but no charges have been filed. Detectives say they are now investigating how and what type of projectile was discharged. Hutchins was described as a brilliant talent by director Adam Egypt Mortimer, who worked with her on the 2020 movie Arch Enemy. And in 2019, she was named a rising star by American Cinematographer magazine. Tony Waterman, Austin, Texas.
This last week, India notched up a milestone of administering 1 billion doses of the coronavirus vaccine. It's only the second country to reach the milestone after China. The country marked the day with celebrations, but experts warned about falling vaccination rates, as FSN's Ishan Garg reports from New Delhi.
Daily vaccination numbers have fallen in October, with the country administering close to 6 million shots a day, down from 10 million a month ago. Officials deny that there's any vaccine hesitancy, but are also urging more people to get both their shots. Both vaccines being used for mass inoculation in India, the Oxford AstraZeneca shot and the locally made Covaxin, are two-dose vaccines. And experts worry that misinformation and complacency is causing many to skip their second dose. So far, roughly a third of the country's population is fully vaccinated and a quarter haven't received a shot at all.
Meanwhile, the World Health Organization this week warned that the COVID pandemic would continue for a year longer than needed, as FSN's Caroline Malone reports.
Vaccine inequity is causing the global coronavirus pandemic to stretch on for an extra 12 months, according to the WHO. They say the health crisis could easily drag on into 2022, but so far less than 5% of Africa's population has been vaccinated. The COVAX initiative aims to provide access to COVID vaccines for people globally, supported by richer countries and businesses.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Farming groups in Britain are warning that a newly struck trade deal with New Zealand could damage the viability of many of the country's agricultural producers. The British government is heralding the trade pact with Wellington, saying it will cut red tape and end tariffs on exports, plus open up trade with the wider Indo-Pacific region. But Britain's National Farming Union is warning the agreement will open the floodgates to New Zealand lamb and other agricultural products with little benefit in return.
We thought that the whole Brexit thing has given us a sort of golden opportunity to squeeze a good deal out of you guys.
Bill Bennett is a business journalist in Auckland and says the government in New Zealand saw opportunity in Britain's need for new trade agreements.
We have a nation here of about 5 million people. We grow food for somewhere between 40 and 50 million people. Until now, most of that surplus has gone to China, and we get a good deal from China. We sell something like $11 billion a year of produce to China, and it's mainly agricultural produce. We thought this was a golden opportunity to get a better deal than we might otherwise have had.
One Welsh opposition party leader called the deal a hammer blow for the farming industry. But British Prime Minister Boris Johnson says it will have benefits that go beyond just the farming sector. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
That's Feature Story News. Nick Harper reporting.
Officials for the Centers for Disease Contraction and Preservation held a press conference urging all Americans to suck on as many doorknobs as possible.
This flu season, the Center for Disease Contraction is recommending that all Americans, regardless of age or health condition, find a doorknob in a high-traffic area, wrap their mouths around it, and vigorously lick and suck it until they contract an illness. We recommend sucking doorknobs covered in a visible film of human hand grease. But the fact is, sucking on any doorknob can increase the likelihood of exposing yourself and your family to deadly pathogens by as much as 450%.
An instructional video released on the CDC's website showcases the proper method for sucking doorknobs while also providing tips for projecting all sneezes and coughs outward, sharing used Kleenexes and toilet paper with as many people as possible, eating 3 meals a day from local garbage cans, and dozens of other easy bacteria-spreading activities.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. You can bring up what you want. The number here is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Here in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
Nicholas there.
And the captain.
Coming up, you can, of course, take control of the airwaves. On the way, we'll talk about the Alberta vaccination passport briefly, because that's apparently a thing too. We were discussing Lithuania and what is, according to a guy that lives there and who took a lot of time to put together a detailed thread on Twitter about exactly how bad it is, that he and his family cannot get into pretty much anywhere without being vaccinated. And we went over some of that. And it's, you know, if you think it can't happen here, well, it's already happening here in cities like New York and Los Angeles and San Francisco. And the thing is, if they get away with it now, they're going to make it more restrictive. They're going to demand more requirements, more vaccine boosters and such. In fact, the CDC director, according to Axios.com, has already suggested, now it's not official yet, but they're reporting that the CDC director, Rochelle Walensky, said on Friday the U.S., quote, may need to update, unquote, its definition for what it means to have full vaccination against COVID. Now, they haven't yet, she explained that since not everyone is yet eligible for a booster under CDC rules, they can't make that definitional change yet. But once they say everyone over the age of 18 is now eligible to receive a booster shot, then they can go ahead and change the definition of what it means to be, quote-unquote, fully vaccinated. So therefore, everyone who's currently fully vaccinated will no longer be fully vaccinated.
Kick the can up, move the goalposts,
That's
all
right.
that kind of thing.
Well, and this is right on the tail of the FDA finally approving the booster, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
But it's not approved for all age groups yet. It's approved for specific, like, people who are over the age of 65, and then anyone between, I think it's like 18 and 65 who have specific vulnerabilities or something like that.
Well, as far as I know, they still can't require you to get a thing that hasn't gotten approved yet.
No, it's coming. They're going to. They're going to approve it.
I actually appreciate the fact that the FDA has been dragging its feet on this.
I think we changed the definition of CDC to the Center for Dumb Commentary.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say this is dragging its feet. I mean, this is government doing what government does, and they have their stupid processes, and if anything, they're probably going faster than they normally would. Well,
I mean, it's worth questioning, like, are we going to reach a point where the CDC is requiring what the FDA hasn't approved at all yet?
I mean, the CDC already fundamentally became your landlord.
Yeah, they'll do anything they want to do.
Yeah, if you're a renter, it doesn't matter.
As long as you do what you're told, they'll keep telling you to do things. Let's go to your phone calls and thoughts, though. We got Neil. He's on the line in New Jersey. Neil, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, Ian. How you doing?
Hey, Neil. What's on your mind tonight?
Not so much. I just want to call in about medical cannabis and cannabis itself, as everything with the legalization.
Oh, you're kind of far away. I don't know if you're talking right into your phone there.
Hold on one second, Ian. Let me take you off speaker.
Yeah, that always helps.
Is that better?
Much better. Go ahead, sir.
All right, cool. I was calling in to discuss medical cannabis and also cannabis. And
Sure.
the legalization of it.
Please.
Yeah, it's a good topic.
So,
We've always talked about that for years. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm a CEO of a company called CannaSense Total Wellness out of California. We provide cannabis to people all around the country. Anyone over 21 years old can register with our program. We've been working on this project since 2005, and then 2015 we went live, and since then we've been providing cannabis around the country.
I actually know of this company. I heard about it originally from Jordan Page, who is... He used to work with you guys. I don't know if he still does, but he is a very popular libertarian singer-songwriter, musician. He's performed at like the Porcupine Freedom Festival on a number of different years, and he reached out years ago to his email list and introduced himself as now working with this company that literally sells cannabis over the internet to medical cannabis users. And I thought, wow, that is a pretty interesting idea. I didn't know how legal it was. It seemed like it was like skirting the legality of what you could possibly do, but I'm glad to hear you guys are still in business, because I remember, wasn't there some sort of a situation after like a year you guys have been, public after 2015, where somebody threw a fire alarm at the factory or something, and then the cops showed up and something really bad happened? What happened there, Neil? Were you involved back then?
That was me who got arrested.
Oh, wow.
So, but I'm a CPA by trade, 30 years in the business, so I've studied law. I've helped people defend themselves against the government.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the state was just upset with me, being that I was providing the medicine out of New Jersey and not out of California, where the entity was created.
And at that time, New Jersey hadn't gone through whatever level of legalization, decrim, medical that it has at this point, right?
Well, at that point, they were legal for medical purposes.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, March of 2021 this year was when the Constitution got amended in New Jersey that allowed anyone over 21 to get cannabis. So, of course, for me, that opened the door for the collective to now provide recreational accounts for people, anyone over 21, to just join from anywhere and then pick out their cannabis.
Hold on a second. Did you just say, wait a minute, wait. Did you just say CannaSense is actually serving anyone anywhere who's over 21, not just medical patients anymore, or not just people in states where it's recreationally legal?
Correct.
Whoa.
So because of the constitutional
Captain's picking up his phone right now. Okay, what's the legal argument here? Because that sounds like it's begging for a federal raid or something like that. I mean, how are you doing this openly and not like on the dark web?
So, I mean, as far as constitutional amendments go in the United States and the way the rules go under Article 4, Section 1 of the Constitution, which if you read that, I mean, I don't know if you want to pull that up and read it out exactly the way it's written, but in simple terms, it just ensures that the acts and the constitutions of one state are ensured in other states. So
really,
and as you're aware, I mean, New Jersey is not the only recreational state that's legal now. There's plenty of others.
But they did it in the Constitution, which would be unusual compared to other states.
Yeah, correct. I mean, they could do it by statute. They could do it by just different methods. But this is actually a New Jersey constitutional amendment.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that they'd made that change that way. That sounds like a first. Was that a first?
I mean, I think it could have been first constitutionally, but I'm from New Jersey, so I mean, I'm well aware of the constitutional amendment here. I mean, I don't watch every other state's constitutional amendments that are occurring, but this was in my home state, so of course, under that in Article 4, Section 1 of the Constitution ensures that should be covered under all other states. And I could say jokingly, my father was the CFO of a beer wholesaler, so he is well aware of prohibition and what happened with alcohol. So, I mean, I think we are essentially coming out of prohibition.
Since he's referencing this, it's actually a pretty short section.
Okay, go ahead.
Full faith and credit shall be given in each state to the public acts, records, and judicial proceedings of every other state. And the Congress may, by general laws, prescribe the manner in which such acts, records, and proceedings shall be proved, and the effect thereof.
Okay, so it doesn't specifically mention the Constitution there, but you're saying that...
Well, no, that's Article 4, Section 1 of the U.S. Constitution.
No, but I thought your interpretation of that, Neil, was that the state constitutions must somehow be respected by the other states?
Sure, especially when it comes to freedom.
Huh. Okay, that's interesting.
Well, yeah, so I mean, if legalization of marijuana usage for those over 21 is an act of a state, I mean, I can see where like the thinking here is that every other state has to give full faith and credit to that.
Huh. Well, then that seems like it's contrary to the idea of federalism, though, the idea where different states can try different things.
It definitely sounds to me like if you are in a state where that is illegal, that is definitely you taking on an unnecessary risk on yourself, and you can still get penalized for that. But it sounds like if you're in a state where it's legal, then you can buy it from a state where it's legal.
Stand by, Neil.
actually,
Can you hang on?
absolutely.
Can you hang on and tell us a little bit more about this? So, yeah, maybe what you're saying here is, since he's in a state where it's constitutionally legal, he cannot be prosecuted at the very least for sending it to someone anywhere else.
Right.
Whether that person receiving it will be prosecuted is up to the local goons. Okay, I kind of get that now. There's more coming up here. We'll talk about it. It's interesting on Free Talk Live.
Breaking weather news. Belize is sunny and around 82 degrees every day this week.
What's the forecast for your life? If current politics and economic prospects are cramping your freedom, escape to the tropics. ECI Development has affordable second homes for you to own or rent in Belize and other tropical countries. Places with stable governments and growing economies. Secure your freedom now. To find out more, send an email to ftl@ecidevelopment.com.
Brute force, intransigent defiance, adamantine will. These are the hallmarks of the AI tank. These gigantic machines have the firepower of an army, but they also have their own sense of honor and duty. When the world breakers arrive, battle will be joined, planets will shake, and war and peace will never be the same again. World Breakers. Stories from David Weber, Larry Correa, and more. Available August 3rd from BaneBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio is great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station.
If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live. Open phones here if you want to join us. The number is 603-283-6160. 603-283-6160. Joining you in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
Beakless Mountaineer.
And the captain.
And we are talking with somebody who I've never actually had the pleasure of speaking with before. He's the CEO of Cannabis. I didn't set up this phone call. He actually just got on the phone with him during the breaks, like, hey, man, what inspired you to call in tonight? Apparently, Neil, you're just at a party with a bunch of other Liberty people, and you I guess some of the people there are fans of the show, and they suggested it. Is that right? Do we have you? Oops, I put you on the wrong button there. Neil, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. They love you guys. I mean, they love hearing what you have to say, Ian, and of course, I've heard about you, and I saw what you've been through recently, which has been a little crazy, so...
Yeah, you're talking about the federal raid here at the studio back earlier this year regarding cryptocurrency. We call that the Crypto 6. People can learn more about it at thecrypto6.com. But you also got a bit of a police encounter earlier in, what was it, like 2016 or something? When did that all go down?
2017.
2017.
October 17th, 2017, which was a little over 4 years now.
Do you want to tell that story? Because, you were operating this website, Cannabis, which was at that time serving medical marijuana customers in different parts of the country with cannabis shipped through, the mail, basically, and being done openly, which was amazing and so brazen, I thought at the time, but I loved it, and I actually signed up back in 2017, I think it was, for it to use it, and it wasn't long after that I'd heard the news that somebody at Cannabis had gotten arrested, and it turns out it was you. What happened?
Yes. So let me just jump back on a few things. So Cannabis Total Wellness is a California-based nonprofit mutual benefit corporation established in the late 2014, early 2015, legally licensed to be a collective model.
Mm-hmm.
So the entity was running out of California, and of course, as a CPA, I mean, part of my role is to make sure the controls are put in place, etc. And of course, when I see controls that aren't working, I need to make adjustments. So of course, inventory is a valuable asset of a cannabis company. And, of course, if it's being stolen by people that work for you, or just, of course, the inventory just isn't working correctly, my job is to then go in and figure out the correct model. So around 2017, I brought it into New Jersey to provide cannabis out using the same exact concept under the entity, but, of course, looking to learn the controls to put in place for any cannabis company being established in the future, because as you guys know, it's now a booming industry, or becoming a booming industry. It's just basically its birthplace now.
It's happening.
Around the country.
So hold on, you said you brought it to New Jersey, but it was still legally based out of California?
Yeah, it's a legally based company out of California.
But what did you bring to New Jersey? Was it like product in a warehouse?
Yeah, product to figure out how to do a fulfillment center model so that inventory controls stay in place, and that, of course, the inventory that's there is being provided to the patients correctly back then. And it's pretty simple. And, of course, it was growing at a big pace because, as you said, Jordan, I think on April 20th, 2017, he did an interview with, I think it was Tom Woods was one, and then he did one with Next News Network, right?
Sounds like it, yeah. I remember them.
And it was a great interview that, of course, made the company grow pretty quickly at that time. So we were pretty busy just trying to make sure patients were getting their medicine. Cause
right.
Of course, the
something like this is going to blow up, and it's going to get bigger than you think it's going to get, and a lot faster than you think it's going to get. And then before you know it, you're sold out of inventory, and you're scrambling to replenish, right?
Yeah, I mean, it happened right in April. It was like the inventory went pretty quickly. And then, of course, people like joining and saying, well, there's nothing in the store. And, of course, we're like, well, we're trying to replenish as quickly as we can and readjust for inventory levels at that point. So So in Jersey was where I was. So I was just basically learning the controls and such. And then there was a false fire alarm in our building, which caused the police and fire department to come, at which point they put me under arrest, and I had to go to jail for 6 days.
Wow.
They put me in with murderers and rapists. And
well, it is Jersey, so that's not a surprise.
I was in the worst part of the prison, which was interesting because the nurse who took me in looked at me and said, "What are you here for? Because you're in this pod that's like the worst." And I said, "For medical cannabis."
Wow.
And she goes, "Everyone here should be on medical cannabis." And she's like, "Well, good luck, and I don't think you'll be here that long."
So what were you charged with?
So I was charged with first degree distribution, second degree for something else, the third degree, a fourth degree, and possession. So
wow.
It was. I think I got all the charges. But
and
again,
at that time, before you go on, at that time, was medical cannabis legal in New Jersey?
Yes,
okay.
It was.
Okay.
In 2010 was when the Compassionate Use Act of New Jersey was put into place. So it was 5 years into the process, 7 years actually into the process. But Jersey's program definitely needs improvement. I mean,
sure.
They are just, I don't know if they're business people who are putting it together or just people that are excited about it and think they can make this work with the rules and regulations they want to put into place. But, I mean, our company is based on guidelines and standards. I mean, we don't believe in rules and regulations for people. I mean, it's a simple thought process in life.
Those things just get in the way. I imagine you're a pretty freedom-friendly guy if you're hanging out with, the libertarians and you're friends with Jordan Page. But tell me about these charges. I mean, these are very serious felony-level charges. What happened?
So it was 20. They said it was 20 years possible if I was found guilty on the charges. But I, of course, got out. I've defended myself as a CPA where I've helped people do IRS cases. So I defended them in that way.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking to an attorney was just more of let's talk about case law and just discuss what our options are and see what the plea bargaining options are. Because if the plea bargain's fine for me, I just want to get this behind me and move on because I know it's just BS. And I mean, medical cannabis and now recreational cannabis is legal. So, 4 years later, it's what I've been trying to do is now being, quote, legislatively put into place when,
mm-hmm.
The rule of nature is that we should be able to do this normally without these rules and regulations.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to ask permission to grow a damn plant.
Government.
And sell it to somebody or give it to them.
Yeah, so I built, as I said, I'm a CPA. I helped run the Ron Paul campaign in New Jersey
mm-hmm.
back in 2010, so I was pretty active with the Liberty Movement. Learned a lot from Tom Woods, just the Mises Institute, guys like you, Adam Kokesh, Jordan Page. I can go on and on.
Yeah, sure. So what happened with these charges? Was there a plea deal offered, or how did it shake out?
The plea deal was simply that I had to go through this thing called drug court, where you go pee in a cup for 2 years, and you just don't have to drink, which I don't drink.
Huh.
I was using medical cannabis for my back, so I just for 2 years couldn't take medical cannabis either.
Oh, man.
But it was listen, the experience for me was fine.
So they took all your inventory, right? They didn't give that back, right?
They did not. No, I asked them to actually donate it to the dispensary so that they can get patients medicine quicker because medicine here.
Neil, I know you're at a party. Do you have time to stay for a few more questions?
Sure.
Right, more coming up here. He's Neil, the CEO over there at cannasense.com, and we'll continue here in moments. Your thoughts, of course, are welcome. You can bring up whatever's on your mind on Free Talk Live.
If you want to bring more liberty into your community, there's something you should see. Intercoin, the movement you might want to join. If you like Bitcoin, break through. It's true. It's truly something new. If you'd like to see real prosperity, start your own currency, boost the economy. Intercoin, the movement you might want to join. If you like Bitcoin, its impact's hard to overstate, results you can appreciate. If you're tired of relying on the state, want to make your own community great, homelessness and hunger to eliminate, let the wealth accumulate. wait for the growth rate to accelerate. Go to intercoin.org and get the coins for yourself.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper with the Week in Review. This past week, North Korea fired a new submarine-launched ballistic missile. The UN Security Council held an emergency meeting amid international condemnation at the latest test. FSN's Nina Maria Potts has more.
The official Korean Central News Agency claims that this was a new type of submarine-launched ballistic missile and that it had lots of advanced control guidance technologies. It didn't mention leader Kim Jong-un, signaling he was not present for the launch. North Korea's missile test comes as both North and South Korea build up their weapons capabilities in what experts are warning is an arms race on the peninsula. Dialogue between Washington and Pyongyang over the country's nuclear proliferation ambitions has been at a standstill since 2019.
In an apparent accident on a film set in the US state of New Mexico, the actor Alec Baldwin fatally shot the film's director of photography and injured the director. The incident happened on the set of the western Rust, as FSN's Tony Waterman reports from the neighboring state of Texas.
The prop gun was fired during a scene in the movie, leaving 42-year-old cinematographer Helena Hutchins dead. The Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office said both were shot when a prop gun was discharged by Alec Baldwin. The American actor was questioned, but no charges have been filed. Detectives say they are now investigating how and what type of projectile was discharged. Hutchins was described as a brilliant talent by director Adam Egypt Mortimer, who worked with her on the 2020 movie Arch Enemy. And in 2019, she was named a rising star by American Cinematographer magazine. Tony Waterman, Austin, Texas.
This last week, India notched up a milestone of administering 1 billion doses of the coronavirus vaccine. It's only the second country to reach the milestone after China. The country marked the day with celebrations, but experts warned about falling vaccination rates, as FSN's Ishan Garg reports from New Delhi.
Daily vaccination numbers have fallen in October, with the country administering close to 6 million shots a day, down from 10 million a month ago. Officials deny that there's any vaccine hesitancy, but are also urging more people to get both their shots. Both vaccines being used for mass inoculation in India, the Oxford AstraZeneca shot and the locally made Covaxin, are two-dose vaccines. And experts worry that misinformation and complacency is causing many to skip their second dose. So far, roughly a third of the country's population is fully vaccinated and a quarter haven't received a shot at all. Experts say while single-shot coverage is encouraging, it may not be enough to protect the country from a damaging third wave. Ishan Garg, New Delhi.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
This is Free Talk Live. You can join us here and bring up whatever is on your mind. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. In the studio here with you, it's Ian.
People's Mountaineer.
And the Reverend Captain Kickass.
Bitcoin.com, longtime sponsor here on Free Talk Live. They do some great work over there, getting people introduced to the idea of cryptocurrency and explaining it to them in very simple terms. There's an introductory video that you can go and watch. It'll take all of about 3 minutes of your time. Just go to bitcoin.com, click Get Started at the top of the page, and then you can watch an introductory video there, or more than one. I mean, there's a bunch of videos. If you feel like digging deeper, you can do that. It's a very interesting topic and one that is not going away. Cryptocurrency is likely going to stay with us for generations, if not forever. I mean, it's very important technology that is.
It has recently been called the most honest market on planet Earth.
It's certainly the freest market, because governments can't really touch it. Yeah, they can go after some of the exchanges and some of the centralized hubs, but they can't stop crypto. They can't stop it from being created. They can't stop it from being distributed. And as technology gets better, they're not going to be able to stop the decentralized exchanges or the decentralized finance organizations, the decentralized autonomous organizations. It's getting a lot harder for government to do anything about cryptocurrency. Go and learn the basics, though, over at Bitcoin.com. And if you want to get the latest news headlines, they've got those too over at news.bitcoin.com. We got Neil on the line here. He's the CEO of a company called Cannabis, which I came across years ago, and I actually joined years ago when it was only selling to people who were selling cannabis online to people who were medical cannabis patients. The interesting thing was they made an interesting legal argument saying that, well, they didn't care where you were. As far as medical cannabis was concerned, it was your risk as far as what would happen, but they themselves didn't feel that they were at risk by sending medical cannabis to cannabis patients. And Neil, you were making sort of a constitutional argument for that, but now you've expanded the business after you went through a bit of a tough spot in 2017 where the New Jersey cops raided your facility and took all of your cannabis and then charged you with felonies, which you then took a really good plea deal and got basically a 2-year probationary drug court sentence. You went back into the business after that. What made you decide, all right, I'm doubling down. I just got convicted of this on a plea deal, and are you a felon now because of that, or was that not part of the plea deal? You just plead like to a misdemeanor or something?
No, I mean, I'm a felon. I'm considered a felon in the legal world.
How did that happen to where you got convicted of a felony and you just went right back at it and continued Cannabis? I mean, what was the thought process there?
So in terms of the program itself, they said that they didn't go after Cannabis. Cannabis was a legal entity formed, I mean, exactly the way it needs to be, legally and lawfully, and the program guidelines of where the medicine has to come from was they just said to me, Neil, the medicine has to come from California, and that's pretty much it for this program. I mean, you are a legal entity allowed to do this. So
they told you, okay,
yeah, I mean,
you're fine to live in,
correct.
let me say I'm following you. They're saying, okay, Neil, you can live here in New Jersey, you can operate this collective, this cannabis collective, but it's based in California. You just can't ship product from New Jersey. Was that what they said?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's if you go to my bio on the website, which of course you just got to go Cannabis Neil Schloss, you'll see my bio.
Mm-hmm.
There was an article I wrote in 1997, I think, about using technology to basically help run a business. And I don't want to live in California. I mean, I'm happy where I live. I live where I am. I mean, where my feet are right now is where I'm living.
Okay.
I mean, so in that natural form, I mean, these state lines are sort of, again, a great idea so that you have 50 opinions that can be thrown out, and some are correct, some are incorrect, some are crazy, some are very logical. And unfortunately, I think, I mean, as you see with what's going on with the vaccination questioning, is that we are questioning society and how we live in nature and everything else, and what to do with our bodies. And I mean, we're fighting over those rights now, some of us. And at the same time, I mean, Cannabis is so simple that I mean, for me as a CPA, it made so much common sense that it had to be introduced to the country and not to just California, because that would be wrong. I mean, I'd be basically, as people call Ron Paul, an isolationist. Like, I'd be a California isolationist. I wouldn't allow people outside of California to get the benefits of a program that's correct. So
you lost, I don't know how many, I mean, what would you estimate as far as the inventory that they stole from you at the warehouse?
Inventory, they said, was $1 million. They also took about $420,000 in cash.
$420,000.
It's pretty funny, right?
At least you can get a good laugh out of it now.
Listen, I mean, but I asked them to donate the $420,000 in cash to the Breast Cancer Society. They said no to it.
Of course not.
I asked them to donate the medicine to the dispensary so that the patients can get it. They said no.
No, because they're not good
ridiculous.
people.
And it was just more like this. I was just shaking my head. I was like, look, what's the best plea deal you can give me? And in the end, I was like, you know what? I'm happy with what they were going to offer.
Mm-hmm.
And then it improved on the day of sentencing to get into this drug court program.
Okay.
So, I mean, I could say I was lucky. I could say, like, look, I mean, The CPA Society never took my license away. I still practice defense against the government with the IRS.
So you're down $1 million in inventory, $420,000 in cash, and you doubled down. You said, all right, I'm keeping this thing going. We've still got our warehouse in California. That still has inventory in it, and you kept CannaSense online, and you kept going. Was there a big downturn in business where people spooked? Because I got to tell you, when that happened, I was like,
sure.
Oh, boy.
Sure. Yeah, no. I mean, listen, I had people praying for me. I had people spooked. Of course, I wish I can apologize to everyone for the craziness that this put people through.
What can you do? It's not your fault, though. These monsters in government, it's their fault. They're the ones who are hurting you. They're the ones who are coming after peaceful people and ruining people's lives. I'm really glad to hear that you didn't have to go to prison over this and that you're still able to operate this thing. So take us up. Let's get fast forward to today. You're back at it. Is the business back up to where it was, would you say, or is it past where it was as far as customer count and how busy are you?
I mean, the customer count's there. I mean, people are placing orders every day.
Nice.
The process has improved. We've added, from a crypto perspective, we've added Bitcoin Cash, and Monero.
I was going to ask you about that.
That's
very
awesome.
Cool. Very cool.
Yes,
that's sweet.
Yeah.
Monero, nice.
So it's kind of like, I'm a CPA who literally was introduced to Bitcoin when it was just starting, from all of us in the Ron Paul movement, and it was just funny because, of course, I was like, all right, I'm a CPA. I mean, I know the fiat system. Ron Paul's messing with my head over this whole, Federal Reserve System and expansion of the money supply and all this other stuff that, of course, I don't know if I could say jokingly, I didn't learn this in school from the teachers, but what I learned through the Mises Institute and everything else, and guys like Jordan Page and the others, it opened my eyes to be willing to learn more and question the narrative.
Tell me about, since we were talking about money just a bit there, cryptocurrency. We know a lot of marijuana businesses have had difficulty getting bank accounts and credit card and debit card transactions, and I know that you guys were running credit cards when I ordered back in 2017. Have you had trouble with that? Has it been difficult to find and or keep credit card processors?
Yeah,
or
how's the
banks?
Operation Choke Point treating you?
It's not bad at all. Listen, I'm a CPA. I mean, it's that part's easy for me. So I'm not it's almost like I jokingly say to my friends who work at Chase and Wells Fargo and a lot of the major banks, I'm like, when are your bosses going to shake their heads and finally say, okay, it's fine. Like, I don't know if I have to worry about the FDIC or what the Fed says, because again, it's just normal business to me. I mean, you're doing typical, just general, helping someone, giving them value, and in return you get the value back. Is how the program works.
Neil, I still have more questions, and specifically about psilocybin mushrooms, which I see are on your website right now. Is that something you can talk about? Can you talk about that?
I could talk about it. I will not say I'm an expert of taking psilocybin, but I know it is legalized.
I want to talk about the legal aspect and what your argument is there, because that's certainly not gone as far legally as cannabis. I'm very interested. More coming up. It's Free Talk Live.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Warden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
I just heard the best sales pitch I've heard in a long time on an airplane. The flight attendant announced, "If you paid more than $75 for your round-trip ticket, you overpaid." This is brilliant because everybody on the flight paid more, and I was struck by how all the road warriors stopped typing and reading and working and looked up. The announcement invited us to apply for the airline's credit card, and the sign-up bonus, enough frequent flyer miles for a free round trip. Talk about turning lemons into lemonade. With some banks offering free credit cards, $75 is an outrage for an annual fee, but a bargain for airline tickets. For more tips on communicating more effectively, hit survivalspeech.com, where you can see how I got the CEO of another major airline to shower me with freebies. I'm Holland Cook.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. You can dial in here. You can join us. Bring up whatever you want. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And we're spending actually an inordinately large amount of time with this caller. It's unusual, but I play it by ear. If it's an interesting call, I'll keep them on for as much time as is necessary.
And I just want to say I really respect this person as a businessman. I realize he's the CFO and that he has a team.
CEO, but I could be wrong.
The website's a CFO.
Oh, CFO. Okay.
Yeah. But at any rate, they have a business. They have a model. It takes a team to run that. So not only do I respect him, but his entire business for doing what they're doing.
For basically, as I understand it, offering cannabis products, and as we're going to discuss here, apparently psychedelic mushrooms, psilocybin mushrooms, which are becoming more, decriminalized in various different states. We've been discussing that in various cities specifically. In fact, a city in Massachusetts, East Hampton, just apparently this week voted nearly unanimously, 7 councilors voting in favor and 2 just abstaining, not even voting against, but just abstaining from the vote, to decriminalize psychedelics, specifically plant-based psychedelic plants, including mushrooms. Which technically aren't plants, but they're fungi. Anyway, we're starting to see a real trend in this area, and that's one of the other things I wanted to talk to Neil about. He's the CFO, apparently, of Cannasense.com. And for years, you guys have been fulfilling medical patients' orders from various different states around the country from your warehouse in California. There was a bit of a bump in the road when they raided, the New Jersey goons raided the New Jersey warehouse, so that part got shut down. But you continued the business, you continued the operation. There's never been any kind of federal contact or federal threats issued against you, Neil?
No. The federal looked at the case And of course, based on the law, I mean, it's in compliance. So, and if you go to the education section of the website, it actually does explain the legal parts of it, which probably are best explained that way.
It's well written too. I've read through that whole section just while you've been on the phone.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I'd rather someone go to that section or read rather than try to have someone explain it to you, because, of course, as humans, we tend to blubber and stubber on different things. And
it is, like you said, it's a well-argued, very interesting read. I would highly recommend. I certainly read it before I joined the organization back in 2017. And, you guys did your research, obviously, because this is an incredibly touchy area from a legal perspective and very, very risky.
And I just want to do some corrections. So I was CFO back then. I mean, I was CTO. I mean, I was the cook, bottle washer, and everything.
Yeah.
I was doing millions of things just to juggle this model and try to make sure that it worked correctly. And, I mean, just all comes with the 30 years of experience being in my profession. So I'm just lucky to be where I was. But now, of course, I'm the CEO.
Oh, okay.
But I do focus on the foundation, which is something that's a different entity that was formed in New Jersey, actually. It's a New Jersey nonprofit entity that actually gives out scholarships to college students right now. There's $10,000 being given out, 2,000.
This call just keeps getting more and more awesome.
It's fascinating.
Thanks for calling in, Neil.
And I remember there was a part of the website. I remember when I joined it back in 2017, where you guys even suggested. I don't know if you quite promised, but you might have promised legal defense for your customers.
We do. We do. I mean, there's not many issues that pop up. The little ones that are popping up now are like in states that are still just waking up to the idea of legalization and such. So the cops are just acting in bad faith, and just stuff like that happens. But they're small and few. I mean, the individual that was a medical patient receiving their medicine was legally allowed, so that was not a concern for me. And Ian, I think you said something like we didn't have the fear, and we didn't want the patients to have the fear either. I mean, there was nothing about that the patient had to worry about, which is why the legal defense fund was put in place.
So you basically said, and I mean, I was trying, my understanding of it was, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, you were basically telling these medical patients, hey, if the cops in your area mess with you over our product being shipped to you, we will send you an attorney, basically.
In the correct quantity. I mean, like, we were not sending them pounds. We were sending them an ounce a month, because that's what I mean, if we want to get into the science and the medicine and explaining how people should understand dosage-based cannabis, I mean, that's an important topic, I think, that should be talked about as well, because, of course, children have a chance of getting into their parents' medicine or their cannabis. So what's the concern is if they consume too much. I mean, if a 40-pound kid eats a chocolate bar, that's bad. 500 milligrams.
Yeah.
That's not going to be good.
That's very bad.
So
if I eat that chocolate bar, it's going to be a bad trip. I mean, that's a lot of cannabis.
No, exactly. And I would.
Hold on. I mean, so you're more well versed in the medical aspect of this, but last I knew, that's still not medically dangerous, though, is it?
No, you're not going to die from it, but it will be it could be a really bad time.
Yes, it would not be uncomfortable. I mean, you might throw up.
Very intense.
Very intense. Very intense.
Like 50 milligram is going to be a good dose. 500 is...
There actually is medical ramifications to consuming too much marijuana products. A friend of mine back in Seattle, who's a libertarian guy, ran for senator out there. He was consuming, because, it got legalized recreationally in the Seattle area. So he was drinking those beverages that are infused, and he was eating the brownies, and he just, like, all day long, he was consuming these products. And finally, he went to the doctor because he was having these stomach pains, and I can't remember what the term was, but they gave him some, medical term for what he had, which is basically you're eating too much marijuana. And so he had to cut back because of that.
Yeah, and I have a friend who's a veterinarian. He's saying he's seeing an uptick in animals that consume their owner's medicine.
Yeah, that'll happen too.
It's not good for them. I mean, there is a toxicity level for animals, according to him, that can have the actual animal.
All right, I want to get to this next question. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I was shocked when I saw psychedelic mushrooms on the list. Like I said, I'm a member of the organization since 2017, so I was able to just log in and look around here and see what the inventory is looking like. What is the argument on this one? That I mean, psychedelic mushrooms, as I understand it, with the exception of Oregon, probably have no legal status anywhere in the United States, with the exception of decriminalization in some cities. So what's the legal argument there?
So New Jersey's constitutional amendment included psychedelics of psilocybin mushrooms.
Really?
So Article 4, Section 1, U.S. Constitution, again, ensures that should be honored by others.
Does that mean those are being shipped out of New Jersey?
They're provided. I'd have to check, Ian. I'd have to check the fulfillment.
Feel free to not answer any questions that might get you in legal hot water, because the federal government is certainly listening to every episode of Free Talk Live very closely. So it's your argument that the federal Constitution, let me just make sure I understand this, if one state has a constitutional protection for a thing, then
that gives more freedom to humans. I mean, it should be ensured to be protected everywhere.
Yeah, I don't know if this is accurate, but it's the reciprocity clause is the sort of the street term for it, right? And is this, now you may not know this, but I think this is the same thing that allows, like if I have a concealed carry permit in one state and I travel to another state, it allows them to honor that. I think the reciprocity clause is the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, these are arguments that, of course, could happen in court, and either you have a jury nullify it because, of course, they know you're correct, or same time you deal with the system like you did, Ian. It's like it's just you have to go through the game on this. So
yeah. And how long have the mushrooms been on the site? How new is this feature?
I think March
Wow.
of when the constitutional amendment got signed in Jersey. It was just like, hey, I mean, if this is legal, it's got to be allowed to be on the site.
And just to clarify, you're saying that CannaSense is no longer just for medical patients. You are willing to sell these products to anyone over the age of 21, anywhere within the continental or the 50 states?
Yes. I mean, for, of course, disclaimers, if you're in a state that does not recognize either or you're concerned, I mean, we always say you can do a telemedicine doctor appointment, which we help guide people to, just because, of course, there's a lot of telemedicine companies out there, and they do the scripts for cannabis. So
right, so you can become a medical patient in a place like California, and then at least you have that argument on your side if you're in an unfriendly state, right?
I mean, if you feel more comfortable with it. I mean, at the same time, I could say I'm comfortable that if you're over 21, I mean, you're legally allowed to get cannabis.
I think it's amazing that you're comfortable with this, and I think it's heroic, and I love it when business owners are willing to step into uncharted territory like this and put themselves at risk and put themselves on the line. Kudos to you, Neil, and thanks for spending so much time explaining this and explaining, I'm really happy to hear that things are working out for you over there at CannaSense.
My pleasure. I just want to say I am with sponsor number 23, and Ian, as you know, we do have to have a sponsor to join, so the numbers are on your affiliate button. So, I mean, you can give that out on your show to people so that they know.
Cool, I'll have to find out what that is. I don't even know what that is.
Just go to your dashboard and click on affiliate.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. We got more coming up. Enjoy the party, Neil. Thanks for the call tonight. We got hour 3 on the way here. This is Free Talk Live. Bring up what you want.
Breaking weather news. Belize is sunny and around 82 degrees every day this week.
What's the forecast for your life? If current politics and economic prospects are cramping your freedom, escape to the tropics. ECI Development has affordable second homes for you to own or rent in Belize and other tropical countries. Places with stable governments and growing economies. Secure your freedom now. To find out more, send an email to ftl@ecidevelopment.com.
When Monster Hunter International discovers one of Isaac Newton's wardstones being auctioned off, they decide to steal it and use it to destroy the Chaos God once and for all. But a mysterious thief upends their plan, and it soon becomes a race against time as something much older and infinitely more evil awakens in the jungles of South America. Monster Hunter Bloodlines by New York Times bestselling author Larry Correia and Baen Books. Visit monsterhunternation.com for more.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper with the Week in Review. This past week, North Korea fired a new submarine-launched ballistic missile. The UN Security Council held an emergency meeting amid international condemnation at the latest test. FSN's Nina Maria Potts has more.
The official Korean Central News Agency claims this was a new type of submarine-launched ballistic missile and that it had lots of advanced control guidance technologies. It didn't mention leader Kim Jong-un, signaling he was not present for the launch. North Korea's missile test comes as both North and South Korea build up their weapons capabilities in what experts are warning is an arms race on the peninsula. Dialogue between Washington and Pyongyang over the country's nuclear proliferation ambitions has been at a standstill since 2019.
In an apparent accident on a film set in the US state of New Mexico, the actor Alec Baldwin fatally shot the film's director of photography and injured the director. The incident happened on the set of the western Rust, as FSN's Tony Waterman reports from the neighboring state of Texas.
The prop gun was fired during a scene in the movie, leaving 42-year-old cinematographer Helena Hutchins dead. The Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office said both were shot when a prop gun was discharged by Alec Baldwin. The American actor was questioned, but no charges have been filed. Detectives say they are now investigating how and what type of projectile was discharged. Hutchins was described as a brilliant talent by director Adam Egypt Mortimer, who worked with her on the 2020 movie Arch Enemy. And in 2019, she was named a rising star by American Cinematographer magazine. Tony Waterman, Austin, Texas.
This last week, India notched up a milestone of administering 1 billion doses of the coronavirus vaccine. It's only the second country to reach the milestone after China. The country marked the day with celebrations, but experts warned about falling vaccination rates, as FSN's Ishan Garg reports from New Delhi.
Daily vaccination numbers have fallen in October, with the country administering close to 6 million shots a day, down from 10 million a month ago. Officials deny that there's any vaccine hesitancy, but are also urging more people to get both their shots. Both vaccines being used for mass inoculation in India, the Oxford AstraZeneca shot and the locally made Covaxin, are 2-dose vaccines. And experts worry that misinformation and complacency is causing many to skip their second dose. So far, roughly a third of the country's population is fully vaccinated and a quarter haven't received a shot at all.
Meanwhile, the World Health Organization this week warned that the COVID pandemic would continue for a year longer than needed, as FSN's Caroline Malone reports.
Vaccine inequity is causing the global coronavirus pandemic to stretch on for an extra 12 months, according to the WHO. They say the health crisis could easily drag on into 2022. But so far, less than 5% of Africa's population has been vaccinated. The COVAX initiative aims to provide access to COVID vaccines for people globally, supported by richer countries and businesses.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Farming groups in Britain are warning that a newly struck trade deal with New Zealand could damage the viability of many of the country's agricultural producers. The British government is heralding the trade pact with Wellington, saying it will cut red tape and end tariffs on exports, plus open up trade with the wider Indo-Pacific region. But Britain's National Farming Union is warning the agreement will open the floodgates to New Zealand lamb and other agricultural products with little benefit in return.
We thought that the whole Brexit thing has given us a sort of golden opportunity to squeeze a good deal out of you guys.
Bill Bennett is a business journalist in Auckland and says the government in New Zealand saw opportunity in Britain's need for new trade agreements.
We have a nation here of about 5 million people. We grow food for somewhere between 40 and 50 million people. Until now, most of that surplus has gone to China, and we get a good deal from China. We sell something like $11 billion a year of produce to China, and it's mainly agricultural produce. We thought this was a golden opportunity to get a better deal than we might otherwise have had.
One Welsh opposition party leader called the deal a hammer blow for the farming industry. But British Prime Minister Boris Johnson says it will have benefits that go beyond just the farming sector. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
That's Feature Story News. Nick Harper reporting.
This is the Onion Week in Review. In local news, a succession of terrible events failed to befall a 33-year-old riding a longboard to his digital media job Monday. Shocked bystanders helplessly watched as media developer Jake Reston skated safely through Manhattan traffic without flipping over on his obnoxiously oversized skateboard and smashing his stupid face into the pavement, with many saying they were horrified at the sight of the floppy-haired little shit walking into his office unscathed.
It was one of the most horrible things I've ever seen. He wasn't even hit by a car. I was just praying that someone would step in and throw him off his stupid little skateboard and punch him right in the mouth.
In other news, a study finds owning a cool leather jacket is more rewarding than raising a child. A community garden sprouts the first condom wrapper of spring, and a little turtle gorges on an entire raspberry.
Tonight in the cabin, schoolmarm's telling about how they talk about corpulation down the school. Only a fool needs telling how to screw. Just let the pecker guide you. But come on, listen anyhow.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live. It's Free Talk Live. We're kicking off the third hour of the program. You can bring up whatever's on your mind. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, Ian.
Peakless Mountaineer.
And the Reverend Captain Kickass.
So we started the show out tonight talking about Lithuania and reading a post, a series of tweets by somebody who lives there and who did a very detailed job of going around taking photographs of various different storefronts and such that he and his family are not free to enter anymore. Everything from bookstores to clothing stores to grocery stores to almost everywhere is restricted to vaccinated people only. And don't forget, if you have a vaccine and you got the vaccine passport, you also have to show ID in order to get in to anywhere you want to go now. And that's not just happening in Lithuania. It's also happening here in the United States. It's also happening in Alberta, Canada. Yeah. And I know Peakless has a story about them.
You had mentioned that obviously they're starting this in a city-by-city basis.
In the U.S.
Yes, in the U.S., but they haven't done it in a state yet.
Not yet.
But the closest thing to a state in Canada...
province of Alberta.
Exactly.
And it wasn't just Alberta. I believe Quebec already had the vaccination passport. I think that was like 2 months ago that they put that into effect. So we can talk about all that, but let's go to your calls and thoughts first. David is on the line in New Mexico. You're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead, David.
I want to take the opportunity that I heard you a moment ago say that the feds, hi feds, it's David Olson, are obviously listening to every program that you have, Free Talk Live, and so I want to capitalize on that. Hi, Feds. This is David Olson, middle name Brent. You know me because I've made multiple reports to you at your Albuquerque FBI office, so you can easily look that up. Online, I'm a.k.a. David Olson 333. Olson is spelled with an O-N. So I have given you some information on this previously, but since Ian brought it up and refreshed my memory, let me remind you that you have Department of Justice, Merrick Garland, under Joe Biden administration. You have had for 7 years, 9 years, the Department of Justice, the feds, running the Albuquerque Police Department. Why? Because of the legal standard being met of a pattern and practice of civil rights violations. Okay? And we just discussed in your previous hour, you're discussing mainly constitutional issues surrounding the marijuana issue. And this is a constitutional issue because what your previous caller was talking about was a fundamental right to do business enshrined in the U.S. Constitution. And I am talking about a fundamental right as defined by the U.S. Supreme Court on about 20 different occasions, that the right to parent one's own children is a fundamental right, like voting. Fundamental right.
I would say significantly more fundamental than voting.
I would agree with you. And the right to not be beat up wrongfully by your police is a fundamental right. And a pattern and practice of being beat up wrongfully by your police and other things in the city of Albuquerque is what caused the Department of Justice, Merrick Garland, President Biden, to come in and take control of the Albuquerque Police Department. Now, I have given you previously, and I have about 100 times more evidence than I've already given you about a pattern and practice of the violation of the fundamental right to parent one's own children and to be parented by one's own parents. I've given you many pieces already. I have many more. And so this is not this, in addition to being an actual constructive legal notice served upon the FBI, the Department of Justice, the Biden administration right now through this actual constructive legal notice that I just served upon you, feds. In addition to that, it's a request for you to contact me through your FBI records, David Brent Olson, a.k.a. David Olson 333, concerning the evidence that I have, which is a mountain, and I'm only one person.
Well, presumably you've already reached out to the FBI, and they've ignored you, right? Like, that's why you're trying to do it over the airwaves here?
Yes, because
I suspect that's not going to work, right? Like, if they're ignoring you directly, they're going to definitely ignore you. By calling them out on the air. It's
the other way around. It's the other way around because they are more likely to ignore you directly when I'm filing the same report on these airwaves with many listeners hearing it. There is more weight put on to the FBI to do something about it because now other people know about it. When I just give them a report, the only people that know about it are the person taking the report.
So you're essentially publishing your request by coming on the airwaves.
Yeah, I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say I don't think they're going to get back to you because they have no obligation. And thank you, David, for the call tonight. They have no obligation to protect anybody. They have no obligation to respond to anyone. You have an obligation to keep paying for their salaries, but they have no obligation to do anything for you.
Last I heard, I mean, I'm certainly no kind of legal expert in any way, shape, or form, but last I heard there are differences between when you privately contact someone and when you publish the attempt to contact someone.
There's a difference, but it doesn't mean they're going to do anything.
That kind of depends on who's making the call.
Well, I mean, certainly the FBI is more likely to return a phone call if it's ABC's 2020 looking for an interview or whatever. They're more likely to, do something there.
John Stossel.
Well, so part of it is...
even in a lot of cases, they still ignore those folks.
So, like, if someone, sends me an email, I have sort of a legal out of, like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't check my email properly. Mm-hmm. Whereas if someone publishes in the newspaper, I'm trying to get a hold of this person, I have much less recourse.
No, I get the argument. I totally understand the argument. It's just they have no obligation to do anything whatsoever.
Oh, yeah.
And the only thing the FBI is going to do is something that makes them look good.
Well, and even if they had a de juris obligation to do so, like an in-paper obligation, that has no real bearing on whether or not they will have a de facto, whether they're actually going to do it.
The number here, if you want to join us, 603-283-6160. And all you have to do is look at the Supreme Court of the United States for a multitude of cases that have said time and time again that the federal government And the state governments, local governments, they have no obligation to protect you. The police, for instance, if you call them while you're being murdered or raped or something like that, and they don't come, you can't sue them over it. They have no liability.
Or worse, if there's one just standing there watching it happen,
nothing.
They have no obligation to help you.
Now, some of them might, they might, just because they might still be a good human being or something like that at some level. That's a possibility. But they will not be held legally responsible in any way, shape, or form if they do nothing. And that's just the facts. If you don't believe me, go ahead and do your own research. Just search online for no obligation to protect. Search for that phrase, and you will find the court decisions.
But Ian, you can't believe everything you read on the internet.
No, you can't. But presumably these court decision paperworks are, viable and accurate, and there's Wikipedia pages that are, dedicated to them, and you can actually read the actual court decisions in these cases, and it's pretty clear. And it's not just like one or two cases; it's case after case after case, because it's basically a legal maxim.
And if I'm not mistaken, it also applies to armed forces. That is to say that the military has no obligation to actually defend any of the citizenry.
No, that's true. That is a good point, Captain, because that is a huge mythology surrounding the military. For instance, if we were to talk about Flexit, hopefully we'll get a chance coming up here in a bit, the Florida exit from the United States, or New Hampshire exit, or Texit. One of the objections you're going to get from people on the right wing is they'll say, well, what about the military? We need them to protect us from China and Russia and, fill in the blank of the big boogeyman at the moment that they want you to be afraid of. But the reality is the military is much more likely to protect governmental installations than it is to protect your neighborhood. If, in point of fact, if the military decides that it is good strategy to allow your neighborhood to be destroyed in order to protect a governmental installation, or to somehow destroy your neighborhood in order to protect their installation for whatever reason, we got to roll a tank over your house.
If you're not a bank or an oil company, then good luck.
Yeah, they will do it, and they won't pay you for it.
Oh, and protect the politicians.
Yeah. Well,
they'll do that.
Yeah, parts of the state. Anything that's, connected.
Hey, if they need to destroy your whatever in the process of doing what they think they should be doing, well, they still won't pay for that.
Exactly. The number here is 603-283-6160. If you want to join us, you can bring up what you want. 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Breaking weather news. Belize is sunny and around 82 degrees every day this week.
What's the forecast for your life? If current politics and economic prospects are cramping your freedom, escape to the tropics. ECI Development has affordable second homes for you to own or rent in Belize and other tropical countries. Places with stable governments and growing economies. Secure your freedom now. To find out more, send an email to ftl@ecidevelopment.com.
After a devastating war, the alien visitors were driven back, and their willing human collaborators were left behind to face the music. When Emma Jean Anderson's ex-lover brings her from prison, Nathan Foster and his 14-year-old nephew Ben are tasked with bringing the pair to justice. An easy enough job until they discover something is inside Emma Jean, and the fate of the planet hangs in the balance. The Family Business by Mike Coopery from BaneBooks.com. Free Talk Live.
They believe, I think, that government can be good as long as you just elect the right people, which, of course, is nonsense. Government can never be good because it's an agency of coercive force. It doesn't matter who's running it. It doesn't matter what the goals of the organization are. As long as it's funded through coercion, as long as it's funded through threats of violence, then nothing it can do is ever moral or justified. They understand the system and they want to work inside it to change it. So, therefore, in order to have their hunger strike that they'd planned, which I thought was a great idea, they went to the government, and what they do?
Ask for a permit?
They asked for a permit. They asked for a permit. It was already over at that point, right? Whenever you ask permission from the government, you might as well expect them to say
no.
No!
You know what? It sounds like government has this non-cooperation thing down to a science.
Yeah, right?
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Should you be able to earn an honest living free from senseless government interference? The Institute for Justice thinks so. That's why we've spent years defending hard-working men and women from pointless government regulations. Nationwide, IJ has created opportunity by reducing government power. But there is still more work to be done. Visit our website today at ij.org. Let IJ take care of the government so you can take care of your business.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk live Saturday show. Open phones for you if you want to join in here. 603-283-6160. At 603-283-6160. In the studio with you, it's Ian.
Peakless Mountaineer.
And the captain.
You can bring up anything. We're going to go back to your phone calls and thoughts. And also want to make sure that you know about our AMPS program. It has recently changed form a little bit and has now moved over to Patreon. And I sent a detailed email about that to the former and current amplifiers and announced all the details about it. But basically, I blew up the old website, and that blew up the old AMP program, and it was just a lot easier to just go to Patreon at this point. Because if something like Patreon had existed 15 years ago when we started AMP, I would have just used it then.
Right.
Instead of spending literally tens of thousands of dollars just to develop the system for people to hit a subscribe button and get an account. It's crazy the amount of money that it took to get AMP off the ground, but now all that money just got blown up because that's just what had to happen, and now we're over on Patreon, and so if you want to help us out, if you want to help advertise, market, promote, and support Free Talk Live, get some cool perks, get some bennies, you can do that, like the recorded commercial-free podcast, which amplifiers have had access to for a long time. That is now being provided through Patreon. So if you want to help us out, you can do it for as little as $5 a month over at amps.freetalklive.com. That's amps.freetalklive.com. That takes you right over to the Patreon page. And thank you for the roughly 24 people that have already made the flip or come back. We've had a few folks come back who were amplifiers before, and they had...
Welcome back.
Yeah, they'd stopped being amplifiers for whatever reason. Sometimes you lose a job or something happens. You just can't spend as much money on a monthly basis as you thought. And Patreon, of course, makes it easy to come back. So go on over to amps.freetalklive.com. And thank you, by the way, to Curry, who is one of our new patrons. I shouldn't say new. He's former, but he came back. So thanks for making the switch over there, Curry. Appreciate you. He's a silver amp over at amps.freetalklive.com. We go to your phone calls and thoughts. Jack is on the line in Washington State. He's listening to KBKW. Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, I was just thinking these passports are probably the best thing we could ever have for freedom. And then showing identification along with it.
Okay, so you are being facetious then.
Oh,
you just got really garbly there. What did you say?
Let's go, Brandon. Love you guys.
Thanks, Jack. I appreciate it. Man, I was hoping he would be for real. Like, he didn't sound as facetious when I screened his phone call. I thought maybe he was somebody who really did believe in the vaccine passports, and I would have loved to have talked to a real vaccine passport believer.
Like last week. Hi, I'm calling from Massachusetts. This is the first time I've heard your show, and I would just like to say the Army is doing a great thing by bombing brown people in other countries.
Massachusetts, that guy?
I believe so, yeah.
Oh, wow.
We're doing a great thing by bombing brown people in other countries.
Yeah, he was truly serious about that.
He was
police
trying hard
can
not
do
to
no
get
wrong.
upset, too.
Let's go to Major Payne. He's on the line in Michigan. You're on Free Talk Live. Major.
All right, I'm going to try to be prophetic here. I'm thinking that Barron Trump's first son's name is going to be Brandon. Bang. All right. I reckon I'm going to.
Right.
I
wonder. Is there going to be a bump in Brandon's? Is there going to be a bump in Brandon's because of this?
Most certainly. Most certainly.
Yeah.
How could there not be?
Sure. Go ahead.
But my rant this evening is on snivelization.
Snivelization?
How have we? Snivelization.
Okay.
Yes, how have we all become so snivelized?
So that's a portmanteau between civilization and snowflake?
Sniveling?
Yes.
Sniveling.
Well done on the portmanteau.
Whining, pissing and moaning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I was a kid, I'm 2-3 decades older than most of you guys, but we had kikes and wops and mix, and everybody knew what they were, and we fought amongst ourselves, and we fought amongst each other, but it was cool. Nobody took offense to.
Well, I don't know if nobody took offense to terminology like that. I suspect there were some people that were upset by pejoratives like that, Major Payne.
Well, of course
Tends
there
to
were,
be.
but there's always been overly sensitive people. And if you want to just throw your skirt
So
over
you're saying
your
back
head
in the
and
day,
hide
in
corner,
general, people could hear all sorts of terrible terms for their set of people and just brush it off?
Well, I'm saying that when there were arguments, there were wrong words. But we all knew that it was just the BS of the day. And now nobody can even take
so they were assumed to be like a heat of the moment kind of a thing instead of like a permanent perspective of racism.
Well, I don't disagree that people are way more sensitive today than they ever have been, but at the same time, I also don't think that name calling is necessarily an appropriate thing to do. I mean, certainly if somebody gets heated and says something that they regret, that's one thing. On the other hand, if you just, callously refer to groups of people by pejorative terms like that, that's another thing entirely. Thanks for the call, Major Payne.
Vernacular racism was certainly far more prevalent, even 30 years ago than it is today.
Mm-hmm.
And then I imagine that, 30 years before that, even more prevalent. So he's not exactly wrong when it comes to, hey, this is just how people talked.
Sure, my grandmother called black people coloreds.
Yep.
But she didn't mean anything by it, though. She wasn't doing it.
I think that's the point he was trying to make. I'm not sure.
He didn't use coloreds is sort of like a midpoint term. It's not particularly offensive. It's just old, right? But the terms he was using were definitely like pejorative terms for those people.
Well, and so here's what that illustrates to me. So white people, as they're called now, included Irish and Italian and so on and so German, and there were pejorative words for each of these.
Right.
And we've come around to see them as one kind of people. So the way I figure it, let's just go ahead and finish that off.
Yes.
Like, okay, those were considered different kinds of people. Let's just go ahead and see the rest of it through and say, okay, well, this kind of people and this kind of people.
Like human people.
Yeah, like, okay, you're from this continent and you're from this continent. And, like, let's just go ahead and finish that off and be like, no, these are just people.
You're from the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just people.
A human being.
I agree completely.
And you're from Earth.
Yeah. And, I mean, I have no idea how they managed to slip this in, but it's become a kind of racism to not care what someone's race is. And I don't know how they manage that, but that seems to be the popular thought, at least in some political circles. And like,
but yet some of those people in those same circles are now discriminating and happy to discriminate against quote-unquote anti-vaxxers, right? Now it's okay.
Yeah, the new racism is, vax or no vax, right? Well, it certainly is a dividing line.
And since there is actually a difference on racial lines of who's anti-vax, okay, why is it that these people that are like for the dark-skinned people's rights don't really care about their right to their bodily autonomy?
It's a great question. The number here, if you want to join us, 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. You can bring up whatever's on your mind here on the live Saturday edition of Free Talk Live. 603-283-6160. More coming up.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper with the Week in Review. This past week, North Korea fired a new submarine-launched ballistic missile. The UN Security Council held an emergency meeting amid international condemnation at the latest test. FSN's Nina Maria Potts has more.
The official Korean Central News Agency claims this was a new type of submarine-launched ballistic missile and that it had lots of advanced control guidance technologies. It didn't mention leader Kim Jong-un, signaling he was not present for the launch. North Korea's missile test comes as both North and South Korea build up their weapons capabilities in what experts are warning is an arms race on the peninsula. Dialogue between Washington and Pyongyang over the country's nuclear proliferation ambitions has been at a standstill since 2019.
In an apparent accident on a film set in the US state of New Mexico, the actor Alec Baldwin fatally shot the film's director of photography and injured the director. The incident happened on the set of the western Rust, as FSN's Tony Waterman reports from the neighboring state of Texas.
The prop gun was fired during a scene in the movie, leaving 42-year-old cinematographer Helena Hutchins dead. The Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office said both were shot when a prop gun was discharged by Alec Baldwin. The American actor was questioned, but no charges have been filed. Detectives say they are now investigating how and what type of projectile was discharged. Hutchins was described as a brilliant talent by director Adam Egypt Mortimer, who worked with her on the 2020 movie Arch Enemy. And in 2019, she was named a rising star by American Cinematographer magazine. Tony Waterman, Austin, Texas.
This last week, India notched up a milestone of administering 1 billion doses of the coronavirus vaccine. It's only the second country to reach the milestone after China. The country marked the day with celebrations, but experts warned about falling vaccination rates, as FSN's Ishan Garg reports from New Delhi.
Daily vaccination numbers have fallen in October, with the country administering close to 6 million shots a day, down from 10 million a month ago. Officials deny that there's any vaccine hesitancy, but are also urging more people to get both their shots. Both vaccines being used for mass inoculation in India, the Oxford AstraZeneca shot and the locally made Covaxin, are two-dose vaccines. And experts worry that misinformation and complacency is causing many to skip their second dose. So far, roughly a third of the country's population is fully vaccinated and a quarter haven't received a shot at all. Experts say while single-shot coverage is encouraging, it may not be enough to protect the country from a damaging third wave. Ishan Garg, New Delhi.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
This is Free Talk Live. The number here is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. And you can bring up anything you want to discuss. With you tonight, it's Ian,
Beakless Mountaineer,
and the Captain.
As we continue, of course, you can take control of the airwaves if we get the chance. Of course you can. You can do that here. And we get a lot of stuff that we could talk about, but lots of calls have been coming in here tonight, so we're going to continue with taking your calls and thoughts. We'll go first to the phones to Tom. He is calling in from Texarkana. And Tom, you're on Free Talk Live, listening on FM to KTFS. Go ahead.
Yeah, how you doing?
Welcome, sir.
I listen to you guys often, I guess by default, since you're the only show on here. But you know, I don't know. There's just so many things I could comment on. I kind of
pick one. Pick one of them.
Your last caller. Well, if I had to pick one, it would be that I was involved with SDS and all this stuff back in the 70s.
SBS?
And the last poets and all that stuff. The Students for Democratic Society and the Gainesville 8 and all those people. And I can't be happier than the fact that we lost our revolution. And I really hope that you guys lose yours, too.
What are you talking about?
This is really a pretty good country.
You hope that we lose our revolution? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, well, that, you know, you're very libertarian, over the edge, I would say, with libertarianism. And when I was your age, we really were all about, you know, bringing down the powers that be and the man and all that. And it's, again, I can tell you that I'm glad that we did not win.
Well, hold on. Let me just double check something real quick. So you said you were part of the Gainesville 8, right?
Let me finish, because this is what you guys do. You throw up a straw argument, and
Are you saying that you don't wish the Vietnam War had been ended?
Well, not the way it did. No, you know how many Vietnamese people died, how many innocent Cambodian people died as a result of us pulling out? We caved on that totally, just like we just caved on Afghanistan.
So you believe in ongoing military occupation?
No, I do not believe in ongoing military occupation. This
okay.
Is what I listen to your show enough to understand. I teach public speaking, so I understand the way you couch arguments very well.
I'm just trying to figure out where you're coming from, because you said you were glad that you failed.
That's not an argument. It was a question to ask you a question for clarification.
I'm glad that our revolution after the Vietnam War, a whole bunch of hippies, Abby Hoffman and all the above, and I was right in there with them, trying to pull the country down because we thought it sucked because of the Vietnam War and all that stuff. And I'm here to tell you that I'm glad that we failed.
And you're saying you would be happy to hear if the New Hampshire Libertarians fail as well? You'd be happy about that?
Well, I think that a lot of your arguments sound, you know, like my...
Why wouldn't
I feel like a lot of people your age are kind of almost complaining about your mom making you clean your rooms. You know, I think that the
your
age is a lot bigger than you paint it.
Wow.
It's true.
So you're an ageist, huh?
I'm a college professor. Oh, what's that? I'm sorry.
You're an ageist, is what you are.
I am all the way.
You're better because you're older, right? You're wiser. You're smarter because you're older.
I'm so much wiser. You know, I'll quote a scripture to you in Romans. It says, "Professing to be wise, they became fools." And that's where this country's heading.
You're the one who's professing to be wise, sir. You literally just said that.
Everybody, I am wise. Everybody who's complaining about the pronouns, all this kind of stuff.
This guy's not being facetious, by the way. Tom, here's what I'm curious about. So, are you saying that you don't think libertarians should have a place for themselves where they can live how they want to live?
Libertarianism is excellent. I'm very much a libertarian.
Huh? Okay, then rectify for me how it is that you would feel good about libertarians in New Hampshire failing at their movement.
Well, because Jefferson and Adams and all these people said that our government won't work, that this country will work without a religious population, without a bunch of people who believe that there is a basis for our freedom.
I'm religious.
Our Constitution says.
My friend here, Peakless Mountaineer, is religious as well.
The use of the word religious has changed since 1876.
Are you saying that we have to be your religion?
No.
Are you saying that we have to have... just to clarify, are you saying that we have to have institutionalized religion?
Not institutionalized religion, but there has to be a fixed point of reference from which all decisions are made. And we're missing that.
Wait, are you saying, I got another question to clarify what you're saying there. I just got to understand. Are you saying that everyone should be of the same religious belief system?
Well, I think there's either truth or false. But let me just ask you this. Are you pro-abortion? If you're pro-abortion, how can you be pro-immigration? Because fetuses are the ultimate immigrant.
Oh, where did that come from? Left field.
Well,
yeah, that was a very left field.
I'm in favor of freedom, sir, which means I'm in favor of freedom over your own body. So, yes, I think people should be able to make difficult choices with your own body. Okay.
Well, so that's actually one of the points of disagreement is some people believe that human life starts at conception. Some people, like myself, believe that human life starts at your first breath. Now, we're not going to come to an agreement, but we can agree that whatever human life is should be protected.
The difference is, though, Tom, we're not willing to put you in a jail cell because we have a disagreement about the beginning of human life. And would you be willing to put us in a jail cell over that?
No, that's not correct at all. Once again, you're hypothesizing contrary to fact.
No, sir, I'm asking you a question. Normally, okay, obviously we're not women, but if we were women, would you want to put us in a jail cell for having an abortion?
Well, I wrote an article one time because the feminists were complaining about the Supreme Court being in their vaginas, and I pointed out that it's not the Supreme Court; it's sperm in your vagina that causes pregnancy.
Okay, you didn't answer the question. Can you answer the question? It's a simple question.
No, because it's irrelevant. It's totally irrelevant.
Oh no, it's quite relevant because a lot of people want to outlaw abortion. Would that include you?
I think abortion is totally wrong. Yes, I think it's totally hideous.
You're saying outlawing abortion would be totally hideous, or abortion itself is hideous?
No, the fact of abortion, the fact.
So therefore, would you be in favor of outlawing abortion?
The statistics on how many people have abortions because of rape and incest is like 1 or 2%.
Okay, but would you be in favor of outlawing abortion?
Yes, I'm in favor of outlawing.
So therefore, would you be in favor of putting a woman who has an abortion in a jail cell?
Maybe not the woman, but the person who performs it, yeah.
Okay, so you want to put doctors in jail cells for performing abortions? Well, because it's anti-freedom and it's anti-choice.
And a bunch of people who went to Washington on January 6th in jail.
You're not a libertarian in any way, shape, or form in my book, because people should be able to make... Define what a libertarian is, then.
You tell me your definition of
No, I asked you.
Yeah, you claim to be libertarian, so what is your definition?
No, you're the expert. You tell me.
Okay, goodbye. The number is 603-283-6160. The definition of a libertarian is one who adheres to the non-aggression principle. And a libertarian would have been able to simply answer that question. And
especially a wise one.
Yeah, and they would be, they would be able to explain what the non-aggression principle is. Captain, can you explain what the non-aggression principle is?
I don't know. I'm not that wise.
You don't really have to be that wise to explain this.
It just means you don't initiate force. Everything else is fine.
That's it. That's all it means.
Just don't initiate force.
Yeah. Now, I understand some libertarians disagree on this issue, okay? Which is why I gave them the opportunity
on the non-aggression principle?
No, on the abortion issue. Okay?
There's my lack of wiseness again.
I get that. I understand, and that's why Peakless was pointing out. Some people think life begins at conception. Some people think that it begins at the first breath. Some people think it begins in between.
Biology is messy and vague and has fuzzy boundaries because that's how biology works. So the only real way that I can see to solve this is, okay, you have your town here that believes life starts then. I'll have my town here that believes life starts then, and we will both protect life from murder.
Part of freedom,
when a human becomes a human,
is the freedom to have different beliefs. That's why there are many different religions, because, well, people believe different things. And so that's why different religions exist. If you take away that freedom or any other freedom, then you are literally strangling humankind.
There's more coming up here. If you want to jump in, you can. The number is 603-283-6160.
This is Free Talk Live.
Hey, you are going to love the movie Victimless Crime Spree. It's hilarious, heartwarming, and carries a ton of inspiring freedom messages. Feeling down about the lack of liberty in your life? You need to put on this film with some friends and have a good laugh. It's a true story about me and my friends in New Hampshire living free, singing, dancing, and getting arrested. Of course, it's all on video, and the bad guys, the cops, judges, bailiffs, and sheriffs, they all play their part like it's out of a movie or something. You would think we scripted the whole thing, but it's real life. Go ahead and have a watch, and if it's been a while, have another look. I guarantee you'll notice things now that you didn't notice before. And the best part is that you're going to walk away feeling a renewed sense of your own power. You are the master of your destiny, and you will be free in your lifetime. Victimless Crime Spree.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. The number 603-283-6160. If you get on the lines now, we might be able to get you on the air here with us on this live Saturday show. And that number 603-283-6160. Don't forget to join us online at freetalklive.com.
Hey, real quick, I drive an older model car, and I locked my keys in it the other day. Oof. And it turns out that I was across the street from an abortion clinic. And, well, they get really upset if you go in and ask them for a hanger.
Oh, man. Social.freetalklive.com is the website where you can post offensive opinions, if you would like, over at social.freetalklive.com. It is a Mastodon-based social media site. It's not run by big tech. It's not Twitter. It's not Facebook. And so you can try it out over there at social.freetalklive.com as we go to more of your calls and thoughts. Let's start with Anonymous on the line, calling from somewhere anonymous. You're on Free Talk Live.
So thanks for taking my call.
That's what we do. But you're welcome. Go ahead.
Remember, those who cannot do teach.
That's true.
And that's why he
They
teaches
teach
speaking.
because they cannot do.
Yes,
I'd
indeed.
like to bring up something as yet another creature that suffers from the traumas of the police.
Mm-hmm.
I probably can't articulate verbally on the air what's happened recently, the brutality that I've experienced and seen, and I don't know why more people aren't stopping and understanding this and doing something about it, because I must do something about it. They steal. The men in blue, they steal. Yes, they do. They rape. They beat their women. They beat everybody else's women. They pillage. Do you know what pillaging is? David Olson is one of those people who have suffered because of what they've done to them. And do you think he suffers from PTSD or something like that? Because he constantly calls in? What choices does he have? This man is in just another example of the desperation that these people have done, the acts that the government has committed. They are the ones that are willing to do the evil in this world. And yet they continue to do it. And I'll tell you what, ever since COVID, something's happened to people. There is a darkness, I think, that's fallen on this whole planet that is, those people are out there. They really want to keep you in your houses. They want to keep you under control. They want to keep you afraid. They want you under control, and this is what's happening. It's all part of it. And I see the damage that's happened, whatever extent they're going to. This is a dark point in time. There's absolutely no time to sit around and be a teacher.
Yeah, it really is bad, and it got really bad really fast in 2020, and it hasn't gotten better.
So fast.
It's only gotten worse.
It's getting worse, and it's going to get worse, and I do not see it ever getting better anywhere.
Well,
I think it's
I
hopeless.
disagree with that. I am still optimistic. Do you want to explain why you think it's going to get better?
Absolutely. I think that there was a period of time where all of the people who were willing to go along, to get along, were willing to do that. And we are reaching the point where they are done with that. And it just is so obviously absurd that everything is swinging back to the other side of things, where we are honestly starting to actually question the necessity of government itself. And
Well,
I think
it's a war that they brought to us, and they are the ones willing to commit the acts of war every single day. And they think that they're heroes, just like that teacher that just called in. He thinks he's right. I met Abby Hoffman's brother. He's a piece of crap. Let me tell you, he's a fat, disgusting heathen.
I take offense with the term heathen, but anyway. But no, I see what you're saying as far as like there was a dark cloud that spread across the entire planet
it's
of
still
obedience, and I actually think that that pendulum has swung in that direction and has begun to swing in the other direction.
So I'm in between here because I think the caller was saying that it's going to get worse before it gets better.
No, the caller said it's not going to get better.
I'm saying it's never going to get better.
And that's where I disagree. I think it is going to. I'm with you. I think, Captain, it is going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
I think that we can ensure that it gets better sooner by making a concentrated effort of freedom-loving people who actually do understand liberty, not some half-assed libertarian that wants to throw somebody in a cage for peaceful acts or whatever. But
they
people
target us all.
People
they
that
target us all. They're a gang. You can't imagine the lengths they go to target us.
I've seen some of the
You can't even
lengths.
think of it because we see the world as we are, not as it is. These guys are out there to murder all of us, every one of us, and they think they're heroes.
And they're losing.
No, they're
losing.
not.
We're still alive.
No, they're
We're
not.
still able
Look
to
around.
speak. We're still
Look
able to
around,
think.
Lee. Look around.
I'm looking. And do you know how much effort they put into not letting us think, not letting us speak?
They
How
put
many
you.
people are
And we
experiencing
still
the violence
think.
of them
We
right
still
now? Is it more
speak.
than 5 minutes ago or less?
They poison our minds, our air, our food, everything, all the time. And nevertheless, here we are, thinking, speaking, creating.
Yeah, not for long.
Well,
because they're going to target every single one of us.
And they do, and they are, and they have, and we bounce back.
It's not that they don't target us, it's that they can't stop us.
Yeah, they will take some people out. They will harm peaceful people. They will destroy innocent life, but life finds a way, and I think love wins in the long run. It's a messy process.
They can
evolution.
only destroy. We create, and creating always wins.
It's more powerful in the long run.
Remember what they did to Thomas Ball.
Yes, I remember.
They
He's
do
the man who
that
set
every
himself
day.
on fire outside of the courthouse here in Keene, New Hampshire. Actually, that was just over a decade ago. It was actually the summer of 2011 where that
Life
happened.
pro tip, don't do that.
Yeah, it's frustrating. He was frustrated by the system, and I understand. Look, Anonymous, I get it. I understand the anger. I understand the frustration. It does look like darkness on the horizon, and it may get darker. But I think that if we bring freedom-loving people together in the same place, the reason why we're as successful as we are is because of that concentration. The three of us would not have.
And we've already cut their roots. We've cut the root of money. We've cut the root of the media. I mean, there used to be gatekeepers like no one could possibly believe, and they don't exist anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Things are changing.
There used to be
Bitcoin.
only one major currency, and we've entered that. Like the lethal blow is already dealt.
With cryptocurrency, for the first time, there is legitimate anarchist infrastructure.
They are a dying animal, and yes, it's going to get a little worse before it gets better.
Right,
Because
the dinosaur's going to thrash in the tar pit.
Yes.
You know, and
Yes.
if you're standing nearby, it's going to slash you.
Yeah,
Right?
so
I think
so
that's what
keep
we're
your
seeing
fucking-
right now.
Oh, okay, hang on. I
sorry,
got to hit the button on that one. Okay, I got it in time. It's a little
Sorry
bit of a
about
surprise.
that.
Hey,
Keep
thank
your
you.
sense of humor. That's
Thank
all
you,
I gotta
Anonymous, for the call tonight. I do appreciate it. I wish we had more time to discuss that issue because I think it's a deep issue, and I don't think we can do it justice in one segment. Let's get Kadu on the line here in Connecticut. You're on, Kadu. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that boomer caller before the last one, his ego was out of control. He didn't even know what our positions were. He just kind of assumed that we were leftist, like he used to be a leftist, or that we're something between liberal and conservative. So we're not as wise and enlightened as him, since he is a conservative. And then he just also made the assumption that we're all a bunch of youngsters. I mean, you guys actually aren't necessarily that young. I mean, I'm 30. That's not even that young. But look at Mark Edge. There's plenty of people in
I'm
there
in my
that are
40s.
not that young.
Yeah. Me and Mark are a year apart, so
It was just completely silly.
Thanks for the call tonight, man. I appreciate it. Let's go to unscreened call. Last call here. You're on Free Talk Live. Who's this?
Oh,
You're on the air.
Ken? Oh, my name's Ken from Delaware.
Ken, what's on your mind tonight?
Hey, I was just wondering about this abortion thing. Look, these political groups, you said, well, it's a woman's body. She should be able to do what she wants with it. But isn't that but then the people who don't want to get the shot, they can't do what they want with their body, huh?
But they should be able to do what they want with their body.
Yeah,
You should
what
be able
happened
to-
in My Body, My Choice?
You should be able to put whatever you want in your body. You should be able to keep things out of your body. It is your body, and you should do as you please.
That's what I figure. And in closing, to see a problem that's going to come up again, like this election, some of these other countries, they have safer elections than we have. They even do so basic as put your finger in ink or something so you already voted. Don't other countries have better voting systems than just
Well,
mail-in?
as far as I'm
forgery
concerned,
stuff
there's
we
no
have?
system that is any good. And I thank you for the call tonight. I'm not interested in choosing a dominator.
And why is voting the way that these things are chosen anyway? It's a horrible
never
horrible
changed
idea.
anything.
A popularity contest to decide that?
At least
Whatever,
it's never
crap.
changed anything at the federal level. I will say it has had some effect here in New Hampshire because we've actually elected Free Staters, Libertarian folks. There's, I think, something like 40-plus Free Staters that are in the state house here in New Hampshire. So that's a testament that getting Liberty people together in the same geographic area can make a difference. I think the future is bright, just maybe not tomorrow. More coming up.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com. Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Nick Harper with the Week in Review. This past week, North Korea fired a new submarine-launched ballistic missile. The UN Security Council held an emergency meeting amid international condemnation at the latest test. FSN's Nina Maria Potts has more.
The official Korean Central News Agency claims this was a new type of submarine-launched ballistic missile and that it had lots of advanced control guidance technologies. It didn't mention leader Kim Jong-un, signaling he was not present for the launch. North Korea's missile test comes as both North and South Korea build up their weapons capabilities in what experts are warning is an arms race on the peninsula. Dialogue between Washington and Pyongyang over the country's nuclear proliferation ambitions has been at a standstill since 2019.
In an apparent accident on a film set in the US state of New Mexico, the actor Alec Baldwin fatally shot the film's director of photography and injured the director. The incident happened on the set of the western Rust, as FSN's Tony Waterman reports from the neighboring state of Texas.
The prop gun was fired during a scene in the movie, leaving 42-year-old cinematographer Helena Hutchins dead. The Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office said both were shot when a prop gun was discharged by Alec Baldwin. The American actor was questioned, but no charges have been filed. Detectives say they are now investigating how and what type of projectile was discharged. Hutchins was described as a brilliant talent by director Adam Egypt Mortimer, who worked with her on the 2020 movie Arch Enemy. And in 2019, she was named a rising star by American Cinematographer magazine. Tony Waterman, Austin, Texas.
This last week, India notched up a milestone of administering 1 billion doses of the coronavirus vaccine. It's only the second country to reach the milestone after China. The country marked the day with celebrations, but experts warned about falling vaccination rates, as FSN's Ishin Garg reports from New Delhi.
Daily vaccination numbers have fallen in October, with the country administering close to 6 million shots a day, down from 10 million a month ago. Officials deny that there's any vaccine hesitancy, but are also urging more people to get both their shots. Both vaccines being used for mass